Open tabs, margin notes, highlighter, bleed through quotes. Research mind, steady eye, patterns only she can note. I-90 fog, whispering under wheels, skyline, afterglow. 2 states, packed rooms, quiet minds that know. No sign needed out front. They circle to her voice. Questions rise before she starts. Curiosity by choice. She pivots mid-lecture, checks who's leaning in close. Say the part you skip out loud, that's where the learning goes. Heads home with the speakers up, Biggie in the background. Mind still mapping theories while the city slows down. She teaches the why behind the crime, the hurt behind the face. Philly in her backbone, psychology in her grace. Don't let the hype fool you, she stands 10 stories tall. She don't just teach the lesson, she teaches you through it all. Late nights with case files open, notes in the margin glow. She's showing you your story's roots, so you can choose where to go. Yeah. Biggie quotes inside the slides, right next to coping skills. Spread love between the lines of how a nervous system feels. Long days, quiet grit, humor in the punchlines. You are more than this moment. Written 10 times, old assessments in a folder, ink dust on the sleeve. She can map anxious attachment before you know you grieve. 1 foot in Jersey lecture halls, 1 on the Philly street. Home is where she learned to fight, classes where we don't repeat. Grown kids texting check-ins, pride she doesn't post. She teaches minds all day, then goes in mother's most. Case files, true crime, mind behind the scenes. She doesn't tell you what they did, she shows you what it means. Your story is not your diagnosis. You are allowed to rewrite it.
Hi guys, how you doing? Hi everyone, come on in. I have a good show tonight. We have a good one. I already pre-recorded. Let me get comfy for this. Wait, let me first say hi to everybody. Oh, I'm dropping stuff already. This is why I did a pre-record, because I did not want Dr. Leslie to be like, this bitch is crazy. So, she's so loud. Oh, thank you, Birdie. Thank you, starting it off already. I appreciate that. You have no idea. And I think, I don't know, but I think I fixed the sound thing. So, I don't know if you guys, like, I'm sure you guys realize, but for a minute there, if you gave a super chat, it wasn't dancing or anything. And I was like, F that. Oh, there we go. Now there was like much better. But I think I fixed it. So we'll have to see. I guess we'll find out. So how's everyone doing tonight real quick? Let me see who's here. Let's see. We have Miss Harlot, Sirius Black, Cuff You, Lucy Day, Casey, Huntress Thompson, sorry about that. And you like the glasses in the thumbnail. I appreciate you. They're my glasses. I usually like wear them when I'm on Drunk Turkey. I don't know, maybe it's when I want to be like taken serious, but these are them. My handy dandy glasses. But I'm not going to wear them right now because I don't need them at the moment. But I do need the thing I just dropped. But I got it. We're good. So, who else is here? We have Lucy Day. I think I said hi to you, Lucy Day. Birdie. Hi, Birdie. How you doing? Welcome in, everybody. Thank you for being here. I do appreciate you. You have absolutely no idea. Hi, Tony. Tony's in the house. Heidi's here. Hey, Heidi. Jen Pop Elwop's here. How you doing? Thank you for being here, Jen Pop Elwop. I appreciate you more than you know. A wise woman made it. Hi, wise woman. Who else is here? Come out of the woodworks. Well, this is what we're going to do tonight. So, I did an interview. Alexa, I knew you would be here. I'm like, where's Alexa and Addie? Like, let's go, Alexa. No, I'm kidding. I didn't say that. How are you? Twisted Crime Tales is here. Oh my God, you guys, come on in. I'm in a goofy mood. So I have been talking with Dr. Leslie, and have you guys, I think I showed you something. Oh, I know what it was. I put it in Discord like a couple days ago. I don't even know how, whatever. Long story short, Nancy Grace is on, and I hear Nancy Grace say, "Excuse me, put her up. Put her up." I was like, oh my God. So, I was like, what is going on? So I looked, and Dr. Leslie tells Nancy Grace that she literally was like, I don't know who the lawyer was that just phoned in, but he should not be talking about postpartum psychosis. And I was like, oh my God, no, she didn't. So there you go. Oh, Addie reminded you of your notification from Discord. Thank you, Addie. See, Addie, thank you. We appreciate you here, Addie. But yeah, so I have been just a lawyer. What's up? So I've been talking with her back and forth, and we made a plan to do a pre-record. So you guys, I decided, because my initial plan was to pre-record today, edit it, and go live with it tomorrow. And I was like, I'm not even editing it. So we're just doing it. So let's do it with, and this is what I'll do. So I'll play it, and I'll be in chat, and I will talk to you guys in chat while we watch it, I guess, right? Oh, I didn't mean to do that already, but let me share. Let me share this, you guys. Okay, here we go. Background audio, let's see. Oh no, I didn't want to do that. Okay, and then, all right, so this is what I'm going to do. It's on. I'm going to press mute because we all know how that usually works, but I'm not sure if I press mute if you'll not be able to hear it.
Short content that can keep this talk going.
That's exactly. Let me know if you guys could hear. I'm so glad that you came on to talk with me, because this is one of those cases where true crime psychology is the issue, which is so different. Like a lot of the cases, I'll pick a topic out, and then so it's like psychology related, but this one, that's the whole issue.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So other than, thank you for being here with me, obviously. You have extensive experience in... Okay, so I'm going to rewind it. I just wanted to know. So what I did was, until I just put it back on and talked to you guys, I muted the mic and the video. But I'm not sure if you guys were able to hear that, or if I should just mute the mic. I want to make sure that it sounds good. You like that I'm doing it this way, Harlot? I was like, I don't want Dr. Leslie to never want to come back again. When you mute it, there was an echo. What about when I muted both? Oh wait, when you muted, there was no echo. So when I muted both, you were still able to hear it. So let me mute both again. You guys are like 30 seconds behind me. Hi, Ivy. You know what? I could also try to put my headphone in and hear it. I got it. It sounded good. We got this then. Let's just do it.
Kind of even short content that can keep this talk going.
That's exactly how I feel. I'm so glad that you came on to talk with me, because this is one of those cases where in true crime psychology is the issue, which is so different. Like a lot of the cases, I'll pick a topic out, And then, so it's like psychology related, but this one, that's the whole issue.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So other than, thank you for being here with me, obviously. You have extensive experience in forensics in the field altogether. Your content is amazing. I'll make sure I put all of your things out there. So I have a question real quick. So before we get into the individual evidence, where do you stand today? I know where you stand, but why don't you tell everybody where you stand as of today?
In the Lindsay Clancy trial. Well, we heard the the very unique pastor chaplain speak today, so I thought that was.
I didn't realize she had so much education.
She's a badass bitch.
Yeah, I just didn't realize a chaplain went through that much training. I was impressed.
She her hair was all done. She was ready.
She was so ready. She's like, I'm going to be on TV.
But I think they're going to find her not criminally responsible, or there's going to be a mistrial because of the Catholic comment to Patrick's mother. I've talked to 40 lawyers, and everyone was like, they're trying to get a mistrial. That's why they said that.
So from what I heard, yes, that is so funny you said that. So from what I heard, people were like, why didn't he call for a mistrial? And I was thinking in my head, I'm like, maybe because the Bo ladies were doing, the Bo bitches were doing that on purpose because they realized at this point they had lost the case. And if he calls for a mistrial, they get a do-over.
They get a do-over, yeah. Yeah, I mean, they had opening statements saying that she was premeditated, that there was a motive. What's the fucking motive? You've proven nothing.
And wait, he's gotten remarried, so it's not even what's the motive? What new life? He's the one that got to move on and still have a life. She has no life, whether she's found guilty or not. I fear that there's going to be, tell me if I'm crazy or not, and you could be honest, that's probably wasn't the best word choice, but my fear is that there's going to be a woman on the jury that wants to hold her accountable, because women can be so critical to other women. So it's another woman that I fear might hold this up. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's scary. I mean, the people I've talked to in the courtroom have said that the affect of all of the jurors is very sincere, that they're listening, that during the 911 call, they were sobbing, that, it hasn't, no one's missed, no one's standing out as lacking empathy. And so that to me gives me some promise, because if Lindsay Clancy is found guilty and not sane, I think we have failed. We have this chance to draw or shine this light on healthcare and the lack of maternal mental health care and education and science and research. And if that jury doesn't understand that, we're going to have some problems. And then we're going to go into Luigi Mangione's trial, and we're going to have a lot more Luigi Mangione's.
We really are. And I think that people want to be heard. I feel like one of the things that I find in a lot of the cases that I cover is that there's an identity crisis of some sort, and that the person doesn't feel like they're being seen or heard. And so that does scare me, because it's how many more people are going to, try to stand up as a justice fighter, but that things aren't going to change. And instead, just the next CEO is going to get put in type thing, and we just move on. So it's these kids are now risking their lives and things like that, so that part always scares me. When talking about this case, what about the journals? So for me, I'm huge. I teach at college and university for over 2 decades. And one of the things I always teach my students is to find patterns that, we have, although we see things in by itself, that we look for patterns. And I think there was a pattern of depression, of her wanting to get help. I mean, she seemed desperate, in my opinion, and fixated on her issues, almost so hyper fixated that I feel like it might have hurt her, not meaning to, but for example, the Valium works. She's like, I need to get off the Valium, I'm addicted. Where it was oh no, it's working, something finally starting to work. So that's what I meant by that. So what do you feel about the journal and stuff like that?
I think one thing that maybe it'll be addressed and maybe it won't, but I think that there is kind of an overlay of postpartum obsessive compulsive disorder. And it's hard to differentiate that with the psychosis because all of this happened so fast and then the medications muddied the water. But you've already got a woman who is a labor and delivery nurse. Like, if you know labor and delivery nurses, you know how specific they are. They are in control. One little missed dose could end a life. Like, it's such an incredibly serious job. So she's already got that personality. And I think what happens is everything is exacerbated by the medications and by her having a baby and the insomnia.
People don't realize, like, we spend a third of our life sleeping. So when we don't get that, that really does have it's like a domino effect on everything else. There's like game shows where they have people stay up for 24 hours and then have them do simple tasks. And it's things that you're like, oh, I could do that. And it's like, no, try it. Like, most people can't, but that's interesting because for her, one of the signs for the nurse practitioner, at least, was that she was not sleeping, but that she wasn't necessarily feeling exhausted. So that might, be a sign of mania. Do you agree with that?
Oh, definitely.
Mania? Yeah.
I think, and I think people are really too concrete with diagnoses. Like, people just want a black and white answer, but you can also be tired and not require sleep. You can have mania or you can just have insomnia because of your child. Like, we can't fit it all in the DSM.
I agree, especially because we don't even have a specific spot for postpartum psychosis. But this is the thing. I go like back and forth with this because in one sense, I'm like, why doesn't it have its own spot? But then in the other sense, it's like, because if we give that its own spot and there's so many cases, like, I don't know if people realize, like, if we put everything in, the DSM would be humongous. Like, it would be so much. So it's like a back and forth. Like, I get both sides of like why there wouldn't be a specific area for it. But I also get why there should be, especially because moms are dealing with this stuff all the time. And there's so much shame and guilt that goes with it that I feel like if there was more literature and things that people could look into, that might actually help. I feel like when we educate ourselves about something, we become less anxious of it because it's not as big of a deal anymore once we know about it. Do you agree with that?
I think people are gaining so much education right now, and it's incredible. And I think there's still so much ignorance going on right now with people unable to hold the duality that she might have done this and been psychotic, and she doesn't look like somebody who probably would have done it.
When I see like creators that are not, because there still are people out there, which is why it scares me that there might be a hung jury of some sort, but there are plenty of people out there that feel like she is criminally responsible for this. She's manipulative. I've heard, psychopathy or antisocial personality, all the things, right? But I thought about it and I'm like, and again, the DSM aside, whatever, but if we were looking at, like, let's say somebody did want to look at, something for diagnostic criteria, she would have needed to be diagnosed with conduct disorder before the age of 15. I feel like with all these offenders we go over, I feel like we could talk to like 10 people within their life that could tell a bad story. Like, I was bullied by them. They were mean to me. They teased me. Something. They were teased. Something. I feel like with her, we have none of that. So, like, I just don't see the personality disorder that some people are trying to impose on her.
Right. We don't see it. And I think that's why the prosecution, they haven't made their case. And I think they know that. And that's why they're trying to stop this. And I don't know, today was really weird how they stopped court early. We do have all of the supporters outside. So now we've got to figure out how to get the jury in without them being bombarded by all of the women wearing pink.
Yes.
But I think there's something going on with Dr. Spinelli. I don't think she's going to testify. I don't know if because she's not a forensic expert, they're pushing her out, or she had a dual relationship with somebody in that hospital, because it was that she did come in and train people there at some point. So that's kind of weird. But I think there's a lot of not misinformation, but there's pockets of missing information, and people are filling it with whatever they think or want or whatever is unresolved within them.
I was
So,
just going to say they're projecting their own experiences. I always say, like, when people are like, defending somebody or defending something that they know isn't real, stuff like, I'm always like, what is that? There's something about them that it's not about the case.
yeah.
It's about them. Like, they feel like the underdog somewhere, or they feel insecure about something, and they're seeing that in the other case, and that's what they're identifying with. So I do think that there is a whole lot of that. Right? A whole lot.
Yeah, there's so much. There's so much of that, and then there's so much that's muddying the water because people are using it as like rage bait and clickbait, like Nancy Grace. Like, it's, you've got people, like millions and millions of people follow these talking heads and listen to them like they are God. And
100%.
so it's like, okay, I'm not even going to look at the evidence.
I felt like when you pushed back on her, if you go back and watch it, she very much changes a little. Like, you shifted her thinking a little bit, because before you did that, she was very much that whole, like, she killed there's 3 babies dead. You know how she gets very, I'm like, oh God. Like, even to a parent, I had never understood that. Like, they're the poor parent, and she's like, and your kid was thrown out in a trash bag like trash. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, how did she just find the balls to say that? Like, I don't get. So when you pushed back, I was like, yeah, I was like, I love, like, Nancy. I grew up on her. I mean, not that I love it, I have respect, but I always was like, I just want someone to, like, push back a little just to see what happens. And you shifted her thoughts. I went back and watched it again before we did this because I thought it was so interesting. She goes from being very much so like that to saying, well, not all of us have a forensic degree like you. And I'm not saying she wasn't psychotic. I'm just saying I don't know yet. And I was like, oh, that's a shift.
Yeah.
So good for you, right? Like, we're doing something out here. If we keep talking about it, we're at least putting people, we're educating people, if anything. And I think that that's a great thing, because there's so many women out there pregnant right now, feeling guilty, feeling like they need to work. They need to be a good mom. They might have other kids. They have a marriage. They have a house to clean. And so they feel like all this responsibility and all this pressure to be perfect. And you don't have to be perfect at the end of the day. I have 2 daughters. One's 23 and one's 18. One's a college graduate. The other one's going to college on a scholarship. Like, they are both amazing, well-adjusted human beings. And I wasn't perfect. I don't know about you. Were you perfect? I mean, I know that you struggled, and I thank you for sharing your story, because I think that there's a lot of women that struggle. And I didn't struggle to get pregnant, but I struggled with my pregnancies. I did not like being pregnant. And I used to feel guilty about saying that. And now I'm like, both of my bitches are older and they are well adjusted. I can be honest. I hated it. But that was my experience. Yeah. I think that's important. And one day I'll tell you off, like, the record, just because of things I saw, all the things I can't say legally. But I do have a specific connection with psychology and pregnancy. And my daughter was born missing her fibula, ankle, and last 2 toes on the right side, because I was depressed during my pregnancy and I was taking an antidepressant. So that scares me, because for me, I feel like we need to teach women that it's okay, because at the time, let me be honest, it was during my pregnancy, and the 2 things. So when she was born missing her fibula, ankle, last 2 toes, she's needed 30 surgeries, 4 limb lengthenings, which are year-long procedures. She's the most well-rounded, well-adjusted human being. And she always says, Mom, I don't blame you. Like, you did what you thought was right at the time. I guess the part I'm not supposed to say out loud is, like, what medicine and stuff, which I think is a disservice. So I'm going to figure out a way to bring better understanding to this, but what do you think about that? Because on one hand, I wouldn't tell people not to take their medicine during pregnancy because you very much so have to deal with your depression. But then I also, knowing what I know from my own thing, I'm like, I want to like caution people, but then I don't want to scare people not to take it either.
Yeah.
So what would you tell somebody in that situation?
Well, and I've talked to a lot of psychiatrists about this, and they call it a risk equation. Like where's the most damage? I mean, the relationship between medications and pregnancy, it has been over sensationalized as well, and a lot of research is coming out saying that barely nothing touches the baby. So I think we need to follow the science on it. But everyone feels guilty about everything when they're pregnant. Like, oh my God, I had my phone near my bed, or I walked by a nuclear plant and I didn't know it was there.
Exactly. I ate too much tuna fish, and then they told me I should only have one tuna fish day. Like, I totally get it. Yeah,
It's so common. It's so common.
I think I still, like, of course, you look back and you're like, if I knew that was going to be the outcome. And this is the other thing. So there is a slight chance that it was God's will, what they say. But I mean, when I do I see the connection clear as day, but I get it. So, I mean, there is a small, tiny possibility that it was a fluke, but in my heart of hearts, it was related. But again, I don't know that I did the worst thing at the time, because at the time when I look back, I like read my diaries. I very much kept a journal like Lindsay did. So I identify with that. And when I go back and read it, I don't know that not being on it would have been the better. So like you said, it was risk. And my daughter now, I mean, she wants to be a physical therapist. This very much has been a part of her life, part of her identity. And I mean, she is just an amazing kid. She's got like almost like 30,000 TikTok followers. Like, she uses this not to she doesn't use this. I mean, she uses her experience with this to just be like, fuck it, to like the little things. Like, she doesn't sweat the small shit. She's just like, she takes life by the horns. And I love that about her. So I wouldn't change that. But I would say one thing, if I could, just to women out there, make sure that you're using a multi-generational drug. That's something that I wish I had known. What I took at the time was not a multi-generational drug, and I was in a clinical trial. But because at the time I was underinsured and I needed, insured this, that, and the other, I was like, I'll do anything type thing. I would say this, if you can, there's things like Prozac that have been around for multiple generations that they show, like you said, that the risk factors are slim to none. If I had to do it over, I would have stayed on a medication. I just would have made sure it was a multi-generational drug so that I wasn't necessarily the guinea pig of, is this one of the ones we can offer? And now it's like, nope, don't offer that one. You know what I mean? So that's the advice I would give.
Wow. What an experience. But yeah, I mean, I think people need to build their village before.
I'm so glad that you said that. What do you think about building a village? Because women do feel guilty. They feel like they need to do it all by themselves and be good at everything.
I thought that too with my first baby, and I had really bad postpartum depression. I mean, almost to the state of catatonia. And then with my second baby.
Tell us about that real quick. I feel like I listened to something you said, and you said something like the doctor told you to go eat a cheeseburger or something.
Yeah, so I eventually went. My husband's a psychologist as well. I mean, so I had
that must be so nice.
So, but he was just kind of like, you need to go to you need to see a therapist, because the depression, it wasn't normal depression. It was like I would just randomly start sobbing. I felt really detached from the baby and myself, and then I had like really slow movements at times, and I was terrified to be alone, but I didn't really know why. And I didn't want my husband to tell anyone. And he told me that. I don't even remember saying that.
And for obvious reasons, right? You don't want people to be like, oh, we can't leave her alone with the baby, or, oh, should we take the baby? Like, it's for obvious reasons.
Yeah. And then so I go to a therapist who apparently was competent, and I talked to her, and she asked me if I'm eating. And I said, no, I'm not eating because I'm so numb. And she said, then I need you to go like get a burger. And that was all the treatment she gave me. That was it. And I was like, so I just sat there in McDonald's, I think, and the burger was underneath me, and I was just like sobbing into the burger, but I still didn't eat it. But I'm a psychologist. Like, I also could not this is my trade, and I couldn't handle it myself.
I was going to say for you, it must have been even harder because of your training, because of the fact that you've shared that you've done IVF. And also I can imagine, you know, in your thought process being like, I want this baby so bad. And then you have the baby and you're not feeling the connection right away. That must have been a whole other layer of guilt. Like, I wanted, like, I've done everything to have this baby. Like, I want this baby. Why am I not? So, and then the psychology part of it. I mean, so there's so many layers there. So thank you so much for sharing that, because I think women need to know that you don't have to be ashamed, and that, I mean, that you can count on other women, even if they don't know what to do. I feel like if you go to a woman who, you know, just somebody who you know is empathetic, I feel like they could at least let you know that you're not alone. Right? Isn't that
even if it's a neighbor.
Even if it's a neighbor, that's...
I mean, if anyone knocked on my door and needed help, I would help them. Like, I think we, especially in America, it's so individualistic. We don't put our mental health out there. You know, other cultures do shame mental health, or the family brings you in and takes care of you. America has this way of just leaving people out to dry, and it's our healthcare system, it's our providers, it's this reactive medical system when we really need to be proactive, which is why I think fucking psychologists need to be in every hospital. But we have a broken system, and there's a clear path to changing it. I just don't know if it's going to happen because of money.
Everything comes down to money. I swear to God, it's like the root of everything, I've realized. And you're so right. But I feel like as long as we keep having more conversations about it, that at least we can provide spaces where people can go to get the help that they need, even if it's like showing them to a medical facility that they could be using near them, or I don't know, anything. Telling them their psychology today, was that really helpful for her? That drew...
Oh my gosh. I can't believe that.
She said, I mean, what did you give her? And she said, I told her to go to psychology today. I almost like choked. I was like, what?
You're in an inpatient hospital. You know, we're talking about people who are out of their minds. You know, it takes a lot to be able to be admitted and get a bed in an inpatient unit. You think that person is going to be able to navigate a website where you have to type in the state and the name, and then you have to go and see if they take your insurance. You have to call, and they're not going to answer you, right? Like,
that's all I could think of. I was like, that's literally like, if you're going to drive someone away from therapy by doing that, that's like you just sent her to like a complicated site to go. And of course there's like articles here and there, but like she's going to be, like you said, putting in states. And that, I was like, I just thought that when she said she gave her psychology today as a resource, I was like, wait, what? Yeah. And then the fact that they didn't know that she never did the 2-week program, the nurse practitioner, I was like rewatching some of the stuff, and she said, well, she told me she was going to do a 2-week stay. And he said, thank you. Well, did you know she didn't? And she, you know, and that they called her and she never called back.
I know. I'm glad they're suing them. You know, I think the civil complaint is very detailed. I wish more people would read it. There's 2 complaints, but I think they need to be held accountable in a medical malpractice way, the facilities and the individual providers. So I also think like people need to realize that they have every reason not to be forthcoming with symptoms of psychosis in Lindsay Clancy, because if that comes through right now, they're fucked on the civil side. So it's amazing to me. And if you look at the records and everything that we've seen, there are symptoms of psychosis, but they are just not naming them because they're being sued.
1,000%, which is why I thought it was so important for the defense attorney. He said, isn't it true that you're in a big lawsuit? So I thought that was good. So that I'm like, I hope somebody on the juror picked up on that and was like, oh, wait a minute. There's only so much they can say. They're being sued right now. Like, you know, and even with, you know, Tufts, what did you think about her? I mean, this is the thing. We all start somewhere, right? So like, people are like, oh, we all start somewhere. I'm like, no, I get that. I'm not faulting her for that. My problem with her is that if she really did put somewhere on a website that she specializes in this, and doesn't, that's where my problem is, because Lindsay would have then went to her hoping like, oh, at least I'm going in the right area. Like this person knows what they're talking about here, and then doesn't get the treatment. They never see her. Do you think that that was
Yeah.
a miss? I thought that was a miss. Like after her symptoms going up, why not tell her she needs to come in?
Well, and I wonder too if Jennifer Tufts was even in the office during these appointments. Maybe was she in her home office? Because that's often what we have with psychiatry telehealth is they don't come in, right? So
I see it all the time.
yeah, so maybe she didn't want to see Lindsay in person. I mean, the way that she said you wouldn't gain any further information if a person were in person, that was obscene to me because
yeah, if you were shaking your leg this whole time, I wouldn't say it.
Exactly. Or if I was clutching a pillow, or I don't know, squeezing a
or like
baby
holding
doll's
someone's
neck.
like, charm that you're like, taking to the grave. Like there's so many things that you miss by not seeing them. Even like the hello and the goodbye. I feel like when you're in person, sometimes it makes it easier to like cry or something like that when you see the. So I feel like, I don't know. I feel like that was a miss. I do think it's better to get telehealth than no health, right? And I do think that in many situations it is fine to do telehealth. It's just in this situation where it was getting worse and worse and worse. I just feel like that was a miss as well. So I'm glad that we were on the same page. I have two other things for you. So one, tell me what you feel about everything with Patrick. I feel like he's being victimized by people on the internet saying that he did this and that his new wife and him did. That's the new one, that she was in on it too because she wore an exercise band. I was like, it was a long sleeve shirt that she has wrapped around her waist. People are saying it's an exercise band and that. I'm like, oh, come on, people.
No, the newest thing is that he's a pedophile.
No.
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
That she went to the pediatrician the morning of because the daughter was having stomach aches, which is a sign of trauma. And then he would have been found out as a pedo. I mean, it's so ridiculous. I can't, if anything, he was unaware of what could happen with postpartum symptoms and mildly detached and into his new job. I mean, we don't have evidence. And people are like, oh, we have pictures.
I think he was mildly detached.
Yeah. I mean, I don't care if there are pictures of his new wife together. It's just reaching these levels of defamation. I can't believe.
And not for nothing, many of us have a type. Like, so people are like, she looks identical. And I'm like, look at your old pictures of your old boyfriends or girlfriends, or like, people have a type. Like, so there's nothing wrong with that because he has a type. Like, people, he's, replacing her and that. And I'm like, well, and again, I think that goes back to that projection. I think it also goes back to, this is just me guessing or speculating, that people are having a hard time saying she's not guilty. So by saying he did it, they're able to make her not guilty in their head. Yeah. Does that make sense? Like, I almost feel like there's so much more going on, but the person that winds up suffering then is him, and he lost his children.
I know, and he made this gorgeous playground for them, like this tribute. It's just, and then the people watching his testimony who genuinely didn't see any affect, that's shocking to me. I mean, the people in the courtroom who listened to that 911 call, they saw his affect. They saw him broken. And now he has to go through all of this again, when I genuinely think he was just unaware he was uneducated with postpartum symptoms, and he had an over-reliance on his wife, who was a nurse, as did many of the providers. And she said she was going to hurt her children to him and his mom. Everyone is just annihilating him, not his mother, not any of the providers. Like, I mean, the Bo bitches, yes.
I was going to say, I thought that was shitty of them to make it look like to the mother-in-law. Like, did you know your mother-in-law said? I was like, what an asshole. Like, who does that? And I feel like that could have been taken out of context even. Like, who knows? She could have said, I don't want anyone to watch my kids. And like, so they would have been included. Like, so I don't know. I don't know how that was taken. Like, I don't know what the conversation was, but I feel like she did that in the very beginning of her testimony to knock her off her rack. Like to knock her off her, to be like, oh, wait, maybe.
Yeah.
Wasn't that mean? What was the point of that?
I question the point of anything these two bitches are doing. I mean, as does the
Tell
whole
people real
world.
quick about the Bobich T-shirt, because I'm gonna link a link to it and tell them why, like, what you're doing with it. I think it's great.
So in their opening statements, or one of the attorneys, she's wearing a bow, and she's talking about how the little girl loved bows, and she has worn a bow in her hair every single day of this trial. And I think it's psychological manipulation of the jury. I think it's a witch trial, and it's to hurt Lindsay. And I think it's disgusting. It shouldn't be allowed. I don't understand, but shit happens in trials all the time. You know, lawyers are spraying the cologne of your abuser in the bathroom before you go in. So if you don't know, you don't know. But
oh my God, that is such a good point.
It happens all the time. Like, they're nasty fucks when they want to win a case. And this, I don't think the Bobitches anticipated that this was going to be so popular amongst the entire world, because it draws on an element in all of us. There are so many categories where someone can be interested in this. But so I made the T-shirt with a local company, and they print on demand. And so you can go order it, and then they're printing it too, and they're putting proceeds towards Lindsay's parents, because they are staying in a hotel, okay, every night.
I believe that, for 3 years.
Yes, like, she worked at Weight Watchers, and he was a school photographer, and he's retired. But the thing is, I know there's a massive GoFundMe, and it's up to like $1 million for them. GoFundMes can't be used towards legal fees.
I didn't know that.
Yes, and we have civil litigation that is about to, well, who knows when civil litigation will start? It's really slow. But there's a lot more than just this criminal case that these people are going to have to pay for in legal fees.
Hopefully with the civil litigation, he has it to where he collects after they do, type thing, I'm hoping. But just the fact that they have to stay, like, they're probably using, you know, their retirement and stuff, because they didn't always have a GoFundMe, you know what I mean? So I think I think that's amazing that you're thinking of them and that you did this. And I think I support this too, because I think that it's a disgrace that, like, not only do they have the balls to just keep going, I feel like they're like bullying her, but now I feel like they're trolling her even more, knowing that her daughter loved bows. Like, I just feel like that is, and how they told the jury what she was doing on the kids' birthdays and stuff. Like, I hope there's people in the jury like me and you that just found that mean.
Yeah, it is. It's mean-spirited. And you don't have to be a prosecutor and be an asshole and be so unlikable. Like, and then, like, the minute Lindsay sobbed and said, "I can't handle this anymore," the lawyer looked at the jury. Like, there is not an ounce of humanity. And the problem with that is that this is a very human case. Yeah. And every single person in that room knows that. And so it's not landing anywhere. They're disgusting nature. I've been attacked by many prosecutors before. I've worked for many prosecutors. They do not have to be trying this like this. They don't have to be trying it at all. They could give her a plea deal and civilly commit her, and she would take it.
That's exactly what they should have done. They're re-victimizing all these people. They're even victimizing people in the jury now. Like, I feel like, you know, this has to be hard for these people. And, like, taking out, like, the clothes of the kids, and then the thing where she tried to wrap, and she said, "Oh, look, I just wrapped the cord." She's like, and it just stayed. I was like, what is she doing?
She was trying to have her OJ moment. She was trying to hold the glove.
You're right. I didn't think of that.
But that's not how the band works. You don't plop the band when you're trying to strangle someone.
No, and I thought that it was great that the doctor was like, "I saw what you just did."
Yeah,
that was good. I was like, "Yes, good." Like what is wrong with you? Like, what are you doing?
And so, I think, like, Kevin Reddington didn't say anything after that, because I think he felt the tone of the jury. Like, I'm going to let the jury, you know, own what just happened. I'm not going to feed it to them. And then it's going to have substantially more weight.
You're 100% right. I'm so glad we had this conversation, and I hope that we have more as, you know, as this continues. I think that this is, and even after this, I hope that we stay in touch, because I feel like people talk about this stuff during the case and then they move on to the next one. And there's, somebody today might not be pregnant, but they might be in 8 months from now. And they might just be need to be reminded that there are people out there that care, that understand, and that are willing to help you. And that all they have to do is just reach out. And I think what I found over my 48 years of life is that when you have an issue and you talk to people about it, you wind up realizing that not only do you have a huge chance that they themselves have gone through it, but if they haven't, somebody that they know has, like their mom or their sister, and you're like, really? And then you start to realize, like, oh, wow, maybe this is like, why don't we talk about this more? Like, clearly more people go through these things. We're just not talking about it, which goes back to our society. And even the Bo bitches, like the fact that they took the stance to begin with was that them being like, I was a mom. I had a little bit of depression, but I didn't do that. Nancy Grace, I had twins and I didn't kill my twins. That's what she said. And I was like, but you didn't have postpartum psychosis.
Right, exactly. And one of those attorneys does have children. The other doesn't. I don't know who would ever have sex with those two women. But they're showing us that they don't understand psychosis or mental illness. I mean, but with the comments about like a unicorn in a corner, like
that bothered me so bad because most people with psychosis don't see beautiful unicorns.
Right. It's a fucking horse show when you have it.
So when they said that, I felt like not only was that just misrepresentation, but I felt like it was like, I was like screaming at the TV. I was like, people with psychosis would love to see a fucking unicorn. They don't see unicorns. Like, if they saw unicorns, it might not be as horrifying. Like,
exactly. Yeah.
They're not hearing like, oh, you're great, or you look so pretty today, Leslie. Like, that's not what they hear. If that's what they heard, it wouldn't be so horrifying and hard to live with. So there's actually, if people want to see, Anderson Cooper years ago did like a simulation, and people that were suffering from, now they had paranoid schizophrenia, but the point was to show what it would be like to just like walk around and try to live with auditory hallucinations. And they had him put together, like, it was like a paper mache that was like easy and simple that he's done many times. He could not do it. He had the earbuds in, and it was just and it was made by other people who have auditory hallucinations. And it's like little things like, and then you have people talking at the same, and it's like all happening together. And he's trying to put this paper mache together, and you just see it, like, and you know that he's an intelligent guy, so you're just like, wow, like, and he can't do it. Even when he's walking on the street with the headphones, he tries to ask for like a newspaper, and it's like hard. I seen you in the same interview that I saw one of the other things I was asking you about. You were saying something like, oh, when somebody has an auditory hallucination, it might seem like a pause. But here they're trying to categorize what just was said in there. I'm like, that was such a smart thing to say, but then that might look awkward to somebody else who's not having. So like, I think we just need to educate ourselves about what that might be like for somebody else, and to be patient with them and give them the room, you know what I mean? To, work that out in that moment.
Yeah. I mean, statistically 8% of people hear voices. And that's your general population. What's 8%?
They're the ones that are reported. Yeah. How many people hear voices and refuse to tell anybody? I watched this one woman with psychosis. I did a live, and I was listening to her, and she said she has 4 beautiful children. But she had postpartum psychosis, and she said at first for like months, she just thought, like, she didn't put it together that that's what was happening. She would hear something and think her husband was home from work, and she'd be like, hey, or whatever, and then she'd be like, oh, wait a minute, he's not him. So she thought nothing of it. She just thought, oh, I'm tired. I thought I heard him coming in. And she's like, but then after a while, she's like, I would hear, and she's like, and eventually, she's like, the one day I looked over, she's like, and I put the baby on the floor behind the couch so I could go check. She's like, and when I came back, I was like, something's not right. And she's like, I told my husband, and he was the one that said, we need to go talk to somebody. So like your husband did, you need to go talk to. So I think that that's great. My husband would have done the same. And that's why I tell people, just tell someone. And if you don't have a supportive husband or wife, like you said, go tell the neighbor, tell someone. Yeah. Chances are someone will be able to point you in the right direction, or give you the permission that you're seeking, that it's okay, that this might be something you're hearing, but that you're not alone.
Yeah, we need to take away the self-blame and the shame. And, I think we have a culture that's grown from misogyny, and they're trying to continue letting that misogyny be there. And we as women have to stand up and keep fighting for our independence. Like, it hasn't been that long since we didn't
You're
have it.
speaking my language, girlfriend. I totally agree with all that. My doctorate's in education, so I studied, like, I specialize in higher education for that part. So I did like that whole history of like education and all, and the whole misogyny, and I went on it in a different level, and it is still so relevant and so part of our system. And I think that goes back to, just to end where kind of where we started up. Our systems are designed to favor certain populations over others, whether that be male, female, black, white, able, disabled, whatever. But, and we need to change the systems, because you can have the most well-meaning people running these systems, but if the systems themselves don't change, there's only so much you and I can be like, go get them type thing. We need to change the systems too. So I think that we need to follow through and see that through. And if you're ever doing anything that you think I can help, like volunteer my time, my, my academics, whatever, to help with that, I'm there. Just reach out and let me know.
I mean, my main goal is to get a platform that can't be taken away from me. So I want my own TV show.
That's amazing.
I'm going to get it. And then I'm going to platform people like you and people with education and people who deserve it. Because the fact that, we platform sexual offenders repeatedly, Mike Tyson, Conor McGregor, where are their victims? Where are the survivors? Why aren't they being interviewed about their experience? And it doesn't mean that it's going to be boring. It'll actually be far more fucking interesting than watching these assholes up there.
Yes, and I don't know if people always realize that the victim, it's not just the victim, right? It's like a cascading effect. It's like, and then even like their future relationships, like people that they haven't met yet are going to be affected from this type thing. So it's like people don't realize that it's not just even just them or them and their immediate family. It's like the future relationships they don't have yet are going to be affected. Like, there's just so much that's involved in this. So thank you so much for having this conversation with me.
Yeah.
And, with everybody that we can reach. And I hope that we do it again. And let's keep in touch. I enjoy speaking to you.
Yeah, I mean, I think this case is going to be over quite soon, and we should do this again.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised. I feel like the defense was I think it's because he had like 50 something witnesses on his list, but he's not using them all. But for me, I was like, wait a minute, you're done already. But I guess also there's only so much. I mean, I guess he doesn't want to overdo it either, because the jury has been there for so long. I mean, I don't know about you, but I forget some of the testimony from the first week already.
Yeah, I think he's being savvy. Like, by him ending early, he's kind of giving a gift to the jury. Like, there's just so many tactics that this brilliant man is
so
using.
Sly. He's so good. I love when he goes up to like the people testifying, and he'll like put his arm on their shoulder, and like he gets them like real good, and he gets them like on their side, and then attacks them. I'm like, damn, that's seasoned.
Yeah.
And he just has such a skip in his step. I love it.
Oh yes, me too. He's very charismatic.
Yes.
Very charismatic.
We need to do this again, and after, because I think I don't know how long the jury will be out. For me, it's pretty clear, but I think by middle next week we'll have an answer.
Yeah, and I'll talk to you in the meantime. We'll text or whatever. I bought your book. Tell everybody about your book.
Yay! So I kind of soft launched it because I'm too busy to actually do like a real launch. But I did put it up on Amazon. So it's Leave the Cart. Because I went viral on TikTok for saying I wasn't going to return my shopping cart with my kids in the car when the groceries were put in. And I told everyone to fuck off if they judged me. And really, what it was to draw attention to the mind of predators, since I've worked with psychopaths and killers most of my career. But it took a turn, and I was getting death threats, and it changed my life significantly. I was getting handwritten death threats under my door saying that people wanted me to die, but they didn't want to help my algorithm. The FBI is still involved. And so the book is about the cart method. So it's about...
People are unbelievable.
People are. It was like the world became a predator and then started treating me like a predator. When
Well,
the message,
can I tell you, I don't know what they found for you, but what I've been finding at my dissertation is in like media and information literacy and how that affects identity development, specifically amongst 18 to 24-year-olds. But what I learned in doing my research is that, let me just give you one example. If we take politics, 90% of political tweets during the last election were done by 10% of the electorate. So I guess what I'm suggesting is, let's say you got 1,000, I'm making the number up, 1,000 death threats. Chances are there were one person was responsible for a big number of them, just using different identities. People are.
yeah, and it was like 100 million views. The
Wow.
Daily Show did an episode on me. I'm a part of the.
Oh, I need to look this up. I didn't look.
Somebody changed Wikipedia to include me on the shopping cart theory page. And
well, you know what? You're going to get the last laugh, because at the end of the day, I feel like, and sometimes it doesn't feel like it in the moment, you know, that I'm going through something right now with like stalking, stuff like that. So, and the thing is that in the moment it feels shitty, but at the end of the day, if you're a good person and if you can persevere and if you've done all the things that you were supposed to in life, like, you will shine through at the end of the day. So fuck them.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And,
genuinely.
but I'm sorry that you even had to deal with that. That's horrible.
Yeah, it was really crazy when it happened and scary. But honestly,
kids and stuff, like, that's just.
Yeah, I've worked in prisons and maximum security my whole life. Not my whole life, my whole career.
No, I know what you meant. Yeah.
But nobody came at me like the shopping cart people came at me.
Wow. That is unbelievable. But that just says something about them more than it does about you.
Yeah, it's that people have this script in their mind where they feel like social norms cannot be objected to, and we can't live like that. We have to question and use discernment in situations to keep ourselves safe, even if it means not returning our fucking cart.
If that were the case, I'm like afraid, but I'm right with you, girl. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm with you. Dude, fuck them.
I mean, we had like small people were like making videos saying, look, I'm returning my cart. Or if somebody would have like 5 kids in the car, be like, look, I can return my cart. And I'm like, that's not the point. The point is that a predator is watching you for points of vulnerability. And you're literally showing points of vulnerability right now.
I think that is so crazy to me, because living in Philadelphia, you would get death threats if you didn't. Like, if you just left your kids to go return your cart, I feel like you would go more viral for that here, because people would be like, you're an idiot. Like, what is wrong with you? So yeah. I think, wow, I think that shows entitlement and stuff too, right? On other people's part, and just a lack of awareness. And people don't think that something can happen to them. And then when it does, it's just, it takes them, I don't know, people need to be more. People need to stop fucking judging other people is what needs to happen.
I know. And I'm the one that's there when the victims say, I didn't see it coming. And I'm trying to tell everyone how to see it coming. And then people are coming at me.
That happens all the time. People don't want to see other people do well. You'll never get anything like that from me. Just know that I am not that person. I will cheer you right through the fucking finish line, girl.
I'm a girl's girl.
Me too. But there's not enough of us out there, and there's more people that say that they're a girl's girl and they're just not. So, but just know that you'll never get any of that animosity over here. People need to get a fucking life.
Genuinely. I mean, one of these threats, they found the person in like a trailer in the woods. That was like, I'm sorry, you don't even have a shopping cart issue.
Oh my God, I love you. You're funny. But everybody go subscribe to Dr. Leslie's page, and everybody come subscribe to my page, The Minds Behind True Crime with Dr. Vona, and we will keep in touch. Thank you so much for doing this with me, and have a beautiful night.
Yes, I'm hosting a party, so I'm going to go get fancy.
You are?
Yes.
I wish I lived closer. I'd so come crash it.
Yeah, no, it's actually a female-only gathering of just really badass badass women all together.
I
So
love that. I wish we did that stuff over here in the East Coast. We don't do that as much. I'm going to come fly out for one of your parties one day.
okay.
I need
Yes,
to see what it's like. I'll
it's
see you.
pretty.
Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
What about now? Can you hear me now? Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Yes! What about now? Can you hear me now? Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. I fixed it. You guys, what the actual F? Why does something always have to happen when we're live? I don't understand it. It's unbelievable, isn't it? Oh, but you guys could hear me now, I think. So I think we're good now. Yeah, you can hear me now because I just listened. Oh, an echo? Okay, hold on. We're going to fix the echo. I don't have an echo on my end. No, you know why you hear an echo, you guys? It's not an echo. I turned on my volume on my phone to see if I was able to hear. So that's why, like, that echo should go off. Yeah, it left for you, Eloise. It wasn't really an echo. That was just that I had my phone on so that I could hear. No echo, says Cuff You. Cuff You, what would we do without you, Cuff You? Thank you for letting me know. You guys. Ugh. I don't understand why that shit happens. And I get nervous for a second and then I'm like, oh no, what do I do? And then we wind up losing all these people. So just in case in the future this happens and you guys see me get a little flustered or whatever, or if you can't see me or hear me at all, Cuff You, you're pretty good at like being able to get to me. So remind me to reload because I almost ended the live and redid a new live, but I hate when I have to do that. That's just not cool. You spend all this money for this like stuff and it's bullshit. So that's all I had to do, but I had to think about it for a minute and it took me a little bit longer to be 10 seconds, 10% smarter than the sound. Oh my God, you guys, I got like so nervous for a second, but I'm gonna have to figure out a way to cut that out later on because that's annoying. I would leave someone's live if that happened. I'm not even trying to be mean. I would just assume that like, oh, maybe not. If I was in chat, I'd probably still be chatting, especially with you guys because I could see you guys being like just chatting, like she'll be back. We're used to this shit. Thank you guys. Oh, I hate that. It makes me, you know what I'm going to do? Why don't we give away 5 memberships? That would be fun. And that would be a way for me to get back on. Stronger the connection, worse the tech connection, personal theory of mine. You know what? Thank you for saying that because, ow, I'm like sticking to the chair. Thank you for saying that because, that means a lot to me because this is why, you guys, this is why I did a pre-record with Dr. Leslie because if something like that happened in the middle of our interview, I would have been like, well, what the just happened? So I was like, and you know what else I did? I wanted to make sure that it worked. So I was like, you might only get one shot at this. So what I did was I sent her a link to my class, like my Zoom link from like my work. I was like, girl, like my Zoom thing or whatever. But I made a new, it took me 10 minutes to be 10% smarter. You are so funny, Cup You. It's facts. It really was. I wasn't all there. I don't know. But, yeah, so anyway, it worked out. I was able to do my Zoom with her. I know how to record on Zoom. I know how to do all the nerdy Zoom stuff. So we Zoomed. It worked out. I'm so glad I did it. It was so easy to upload afterwards. I'm glad I didn't go back and edit anything. There wasn't really anything that, I mean, there was a few things maybe I might have been like, for like me to be like, oh gosh, but there was nothing I needed to edit, and I'm glad that I didn't edit it. What I'm going to do is I will upload it later on when we're done. I'll upload it as its own video, and I'll, there's like a tab you can do that'll tag the other person as a creator, so I'll tag her channel, and maybe we'll get some exposure there too, because I would love more people to be able to get to know you guys. I mean, I'm not even just being biased. I genuinely, with all of my heart, genuinely feel like we have the most supportive chat ever. Just the last time, not the last time, maybe it was the time before we were on, Cuffy's grandchildren have moved closer to her, and we love that. Cuffy, it literally warms my heart for you. But Cuffy was putting her grandchildren to bed or whatever she was, whatever she was doing, and thank you, Casey. And oh my gosh, we were all, Cuffy, I don't know if you ever got to go back and watch part of that, but like, we were so concerned. We were all like, oh my God, we hope Cuffy's like not upset. I even said, I'm like, I hope she's not upset with me. Da, da. And that's why we all put so much love for you in Discord. We love everybody here. Lisa Motherfucking Lisa, were you able to see the interview I just did with Dr. Leslie? If not, when this is over, go back and watch, Lisa. I thought of you earlier. We're gonna have to, because we need to talk. Oh my gosh, I have goosebumps. I wish you could see my goosebumps, Lise. That is so weird, you guys. I have goosebumps all over. I was just thinking about you. Crazy. Barbara said that she's going to go back and watch it. She missed it. And this is the thing. If you guys missed it too, like I said, I'm going to put it up as its own video when we're done. So it'll be available that way too. And if you guys all love me very, very much, like I do you, please, when you see the video, even if you were like, I'm not going to rewatch this because I already saw it, can you just like click on it and skip through it? Because the more people that click on it, the more it will go to other people. So that would just be so helpful to me because I want to get out there. But yeah, so you guys, I'm so glad that I hooked up with Dr. Leslie. She's very, very opinionated, and I actually like that. I mean, that's one thing that I love about our chat too. Like, we clearly have different views on this case, and this is the thing. So let's just take one of the pieces, for example, and I will say this for all of you guys that are, that feel like she needs to be held responsible for this. Today, in my opinion, was not the best day for the defense. That's just how I took it. If I was a juror, today was like icky a little bit to me for the defense. Like, there were certain things that, for example, I don't know. Okay, so some of the testimony, right, you wanted to get across that she's talked about her kids and that, she has remorse and all these things, right? But then when they asked them, it was mostly, the ones I'm remembering is the chaplain today and the guy yesterday, the one from Harvard that would did time overseas. He's a psychologist, him. So the two of them both said that she does talk about her kids, but the way they said it, it almost sounded like either she has a little bit, or that she alludes to them. That's the word I'm kind of looking for. So for example, the chaplain today said, and I'm paraphrasing because I can't remember exact words. I should have had it queued up so we could have looked, but she said something a few times. She would say she alluded to this or she alluded to that. And to me, I was just like, oh, does that mean that she didn't say those things? So that's the part that I was like, But Casey, I'm going to be totally honest, says Casey. Wait, why don't I just highlight these things? Casey says, I'm going to be totally honest. I hate the prosecution more than I dislike Corey's lawyers. Well, there you go. I actually, as much as I thought Corey's lawyers, I think they have a ton of cases. They were public defenders, and I think they had many cases. It wasn't them as much that I didn't like, you know what I mean? I thought they were, I just thought they were overworked. Here, for some reason, and again, this is with all due respect, I know I'm projecting. Like, I know, just like I say, when somebody else gets mad or upset about something else, that I think they need to look inside themselves to see, like, what it is about them that they're projecting when someone, and this is anything, even in your regular life, you guys. If you hang up tonight and you get into an argument with somebody, or like you get mad at somebody for saying something, I would say, what is it about what the person said that, like, what is it within you that made you react to that? And again, it doesn't make it right or wrong. I'm just all about pinpointing, which is probably why I don't sleep and shit like that, because my brain's always like and doesn't slow the hell down. So I'm not saying it's a good thing, but the prosecutors, I'm reacting. I'm trying to think of the right words. That's why I'm hesitating. I'm reacting to them big time. And I think part of it reminds me of like high school. And I'm not saying like, oh, you remind me, like, not in that way. Like, I'm being specific. Like, I'm specifically remembering an event from high school that's like similar to the bow thing. And I think that's where my reaction comes from. And again, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with, how somebody feels. And I think it was Sirius, right? Sirius said that you saw it as a way to honor the victim. And that is absolutely a beautiful thing, right? We wear ribbons all the time to honor victims and different causes, and the bands, like the wristbands, and there's many ways to honor them. For me, and again, this is just my opinion, for me it feels like, not it felt like, because it's still happening, it feels like trolling for me. I'm not saying it's true. I'm saying that, like, for me, it feels like trolling more than honoring, if that makes sense. So I feel like it's more to hurt Lindsay than it is to honor Cora. And again, I could be totally wrong in that, right? And again, and if I am, then it's because, again, there's something that I'm responding to, or reacting to, rather. I probably should be responding, right? So that's where that comes from. So let's see what you guys are saying. What's up, Ellie? Doesn't it take experience in order to recognize something? Oh, it doesn't. Wait, doesn't it take experience in order to recognize something? No, I would say it just takes awareness, right? So I guess awareness and recognizing would be synonymous, but being aware, I think that's the biggest part, right? Like, it's having insight. And not everybody has insight, and not everybody, we saw this in this case, the lack of insight that they said Lindsay has, which, if we're taking that into consideration, because and that's a prosecution's witness, Dr. Tuff says she lacked insight. So if she lacks insight, and she said this on more than one occasion, then why wouldn't that be then used also to say that that's why she might not have reported her hallucinations, whether auditory, whatever they may have been, or delusions, right? So, I'm like almost positive delusions, right? I was going to look it up, did she have delusions? Do you guys know? Because I'm going to wind up looking it up, and then I'll read whatever. You guys will tell me. But I'm like almost positive she had delusions, and there's all different types of delusions, you guys. So just real quick, and I'm not trying to do a whole lecture, but just real quick. Hallucinations and delusions are different. So, and some of you know this, some of you have experience with this with loved ones. Truth and Cuff You have both shared with us with their family members. So, like, a lot of people have experience with some of these things, but they're different. So a hallucination is going to be auditory or visual, and you see or hear something that isn't there. And then, but a delusion by definition is just a false belief. So there are many types of false beliefs. So for example, you can have a delusion of persecution where you think that people are out to get you. You can have a delusion of grandiosity where you feel like Jesus sent you here because he wants you to do this powerful, like this thing that only you could do because you have such exceptional powers and talent, and you're divinely connected, and so on and so forth. There's somatic delusions. So thinking that when you have a somatoform disorder is when you have symptoms despite medical reasoning. So for example, glove amnesia is psychosomatic symptom, and this would be a symptom where someone can't feel from the wrist down. So just like a glove, right? So picture like a glove, their hand, but it's not, for all of you that are in the medical field out there, it's not, I don't know what the word is I'm looking for, but like you wouldn't see they wouldn't be able to feel anything in their hand, but it would stop at the wrist. And the way that we're built biologically, I think it's like these two fingers run on the same lines up your arms, and then these three, like the two of your thumb, whatever it is, it just doesn't make sense anatomically, I think is the word I'm looking for. It doesn't make anatomical sense, but this is very much a symptom for someone, and with not enough, but with the right therapy, like cognitive behavioral therapy, whatever the therapy is that they need, they would get that feeling back. And there are people that can't walk, and there's no medical reasoning. So there's no, like how Lindsay has, I forget the name of it, how it's like severed. There wouldn't be any of that. So there would be no known medical reasoning for why this person couldn't walk. And in that case, it would be considered psychosomatic. And this would be an extreme case, and I'm giving you an extreme case. The cases we see more often are things like stomach ache, headache, things like that, where there's no known medical reasoning. So you don't have a virus, you don't have a tumor, God forbid, right? So on and so forth. So with the right stress relief therapy, whatever the case may be, those symptoms can subside. My family is so loud, I can't take it, I'm sorry. There's also things like delusions of reference, which is what I think, if I'm remembering right, that she believe that that there was like hidden personal meaning, right, just to her. So, but this would be more of like watching a TV show and thinking that like the anchor of the TV show is winking at you and trying to tell you something. But I thought she said that she thought, I don't know, what did she say? Do you guys remember any of the ones that she said? Did she have like delusions of reference? It's like, I don't know why I'm not, did I make it up? Did she not? It said maybe she was under the delusion, she was hallucinating, when really she was sleep deprived, depressed, and medicated, says Alloy. Now, Alloy, this is the thing. I think that could be true, right? So that could be true. I mean, if you're not sleeping, we know that causes many biological changes that could be harmful. You add all those medications to it, and we don't know, like, what if she had like neurotoxicity type thing, she is so loud, I can't take it. Sorry, you guys. Yeah, what if she had a neurotoxic reaction to the medication? You know what I mean? But my thing is this. If she did have that, like, let's say the medication comes into play, and let's just say, and I'm just surmising here, I'm giving a hypothetical, let's say she's sleep deprived, plus medication, plus hormonal changes, all the things, right? Depression. Let's say she has, bless you, hallucinations as a result of those things, because we know that that's a thing. People have hallucinations, even delusions when they're sleep deprived, medicated, depressed in certain situations. So add all of these things together, and that is possible. My question then would be, was she failed by this system? Like, should somebody, it angers me, you guys, that the doctors, and again, this is just my opinion, just because I'm saying it doesn't make it real, right? But it's my opinion that they should have laid eyes on her more than just online. Like, I feel like by coming in, there's, and you guys might disagree with me. I don't know what you think. I do think if it means telehealth or no health, let's go telehealth 100%. I also think you could set something up with the patient, like let's do 75% telehealth. Do you know what I mean? Or let's do most of it telehealth, and we only come in if we feel like we need to, like if things aren't getting better and we need to have that, one-on-one in person. And I just feel like that was not done. And I will say, in my opinion, I do think that they were able to show that she was, she could be difficult sometimes as a patient. And what I mean by that is, and again, I'm not blaming her, but what I'm saying is, for example, and again, somebody spark my memory if I'm wrong, but I'm going to default on my memory because I don't know why I would just make stuff up. But with the nurse practitioner, do you guys remember that after seeing the nurse practitioner, she had an appointment with her, and Lindsay messages the nurse practitioner to tell her that she's going to have to change it to telehealth because she can't make it in. Now, this is my thing. If I was the nurse practitioner, what are you going to do? If you say no, then the person, you risk the person not coming altogether and just saying, okay, well, then I just can't make it. Like, we'll have to reschedule another time type thing. So I understand that. I get that. Maybe having a conversation about why I think it's important that you come in, or maybe discussing having, allowing me to talk to Patrick and my mom and so on and so forth to see if maybe that might help me get a better picture if I were a clinician for her type thing. If that might have helped a little bit. And again, all of this is hindsight, right? And hindsight is 20/20. So, it's hindsight. But these are all things that we can try to help in the future. So let me see what you guys are saying. Let's see. So you guys are saying, Harlot says, I think she was afraid to tell the doctors the worst symptoms, like thoughts of hurting the kids, and was hoping she was telling them enough and that the meds would work. I think that's exactly a possibility and probability. So, there's plenty of mothers that say that they're afraid that their kid would get taken away. If my memory serves me correct, I do believe that somebody testified saying, I don't know if it was the prosecutor or the defense, asked the clinician, and I don't remember which one it was, would you have called? Was it Tufts, maybe? Would you have called if Lindsay said that she was a danger to the kids? Would you have called, like, the Child Protective Services? You know what I mean? And she said, yes, I may have. So that, I feel like, just validated for any woman out there that's afraid that their kid's going to get taken away if they say anything. That just validates for them that they're probably right. And I've seen a lot of creators say and discuss that, it's probably necessary to separate the kid and the mom. But as someone who has studied identity development and attachment, so intensely, I would, and again, you would say, okay, well, what's the alternative? This, and you don't want that, right? So no, there has to be a better way. Maybe opening more programs where the mom and the baby can both go, and that way you're working on that attachment. There's just got to be a different way, because you want the mom to get help, right? And what if dad doesn't work from home? Like, what if dad, works in a different country during the week, or a different state or whatever, and comes home only on the weekends? Like, you just don't know. Or what if dad's not around? Like, there has to be a better way, because in that scenario, then the only person who can go get that help is someone who has someone to take care of the baby, and that just puts a whole other layer of guilt, issues about, how am I going to do this? I just need to figure it out. So there's so many things. And I will also say there are so many of you in chat I know that felt the postpartum baby blues. Most people will feel the baby blues. That will, for some people, will turn into postpartum depression, and then for about 2 in 1,000 births will develop into postpartum psychosis. And out of the 2 people that do get postpartum psychosis, it's a very small percent of them that will go on to actually harm, their child. So it's rare, but it happens. Casey says, Cuff, I'm aware of what they said. She was on and went, if she was self-medicating, who knows what was in her system and what had left already before she started another one. So I'm wondering, you guys, could it be like, I was trying to think about it, and if you're trying to figure out what medication to be on and stuff, there is going to be, the changing of medication. So you might, 13 medications, like in this case, might be 4 medications is what you're supposed to be taking, but you have these extra medications because you're in the process of figuring out which medication works best for you, so you're switching up, so on and so forth. My question is, should we have people turn in medications when they get a new one? What do you guys think about that? Does that, because, and I don't know if hi Legally Guilty, how you doing? But I don't know, does that take away, for my legal people in here, does that take away your rights? I don't know. Even my idea about having a program where mom and baby can both go, does that take away rights? I think about it on a psychology level, and I know that the logistics I know it's just not that easy. And what if you're a mom with a baby and a 2-year-old and you have no one to help? Then where does it end? Do you take in the 2-year-old too? And because my argument would be that, the attachment to all the kids is important too. My son has to turn his in. Really, Cuff you? Wow. Huh. So, but not everybody makes you. So, Cuff you, do you know if it's if it's for everyone in your state, or like Casey said, is it a doctor thing? Barb said that her medicine's changed a couple times in the past few years, made her feel crazy. Heidi, I think she should be held accountable in some way for hurting the children, but I think more needs to be done with postpartum for women. Birdie, yeah, okay, so Heidi, and again, you guys, this is all, I think more people agree. Cuff you, believe it or not, I think there's more people that, agree that she should be held responsible than don't at this point, in chat. But this is my question, Heidi, or to anybody, right? She was an avid runner. She was, she loved her job as a pediatric nurse. She named her first baby after the first baby that she helped deliver as a nurse. There's nobody out there that they've been able to bring forth that have said horrible things about her as a human being, not her mother-in-law, not Pat, nobody. I mean, other than the prosecutors, I really have heard nothing negative. There's nobody coming out about, there's nobody on social media oh, she was a bitch in high school, nothing. There's nothing. So that makes me wonder. I mean, couldn't you say that losing her 3 kids and being paralyzed from the waist down, losing Patrick, she'll probably never remarry. She's not going to have more kids. Like, her future is very limited, even if she does get found not guilty by reason of insanity. And even in that case, she doesn't go home, right, you guys? Doesn't she go to a hospital? And now I do believe, because I was looking with the Andrea Yates case, because I think it was Harlot or someone was telling me that Andrea Yates turns down her, I think it was Harlot, whatever. Someone was saying about how every year when Andrea Yates is up for, like, I don't know if it would be release or I don't know what they would call it, but she turns it down because she doesn't want to go out in society. And that is very much the truth. I couldn't believe that the hospital, like, just allows that. Like, I needed to think about that for a minute. I'm like, meanwhile, there's so many people that can't get a bed for a night, and I just couldn't believe that Andrea Yates was, like, allowed to just be like, nah, we're going to skip it this year, maybe next year, and then, like, nah, we're going to skip it. So, but I believe, right, and Mark, tell me if I'm wrong, that you stay in the hospital until a judge and clinicians say that you're safe to go back out in society again. And I know that you have to, like, live, for so many months and stuff like that before ever getting evaluated for that. But then even after that, like, she's going to need someone to take care, like, help her. I mean, there's plenty of people, obviously, that have no help, that either have no legs or are paralyzed from the waist down. So there are plenty of people that live on their own and figure it out on their own. But I can imagine that this is going to be a huge adjustment. And they said one of the problems that she had back then was a possible adjustment disorder, right? Because she was having a hard time adjusting with having to go back to work and not being there, she said, mentally for her patients and stuff like that. So I want to take all that into consideration. What's up, Justice Jane? Justice Jane says, justice for the victims. Lindsay is guilty and criminally responsible. So, you guys, I'm wondering what's different from today versus even a week ago. Because I have to be honest, no, Justice Jane, you're in a group of people that agree with you. Like I said, there's so many more people here tonight, and I don't know if there wasn't this many people that thought she was guilty the last time we talked about it, or was it just that nobody was really putting it out there? Do you know what I mean? I'm not sure, but I'm not surprised. Let's do a poll. Birdie, how do I do that? I want to do that. Hold on, let's see. How do I do a poll, you guys? Does anybody know? Is that bad? Hold on. Let's see. 10% smarter. A poll. How do we do a poll? I have no idea. YouTube bad actors. How do I do a poll? I honestly don't know what she deserves. She already lost everything. See? Case, that's what I'm saying. I don't know. Justice Jane says, I've always been for the kids. But this is the thing, can't you be for the kids, Justice Jane? And, like, can't you be for both? Like, just, like, if I come to the conclusion, in my opinion, that she should be found not guilty by reason of insanity, can I still want justice for the kids?
Thank you.
Couldn't you
Thank
argue?
you.
Oh my God, that just scared the shit out of me, Casey. Casey says, rest in peace, Cora Dawson and Kellen. Absolutely. All of you say that. I totally agree with that. Harlot says you can definitely have both. That's what I'm thinking too, because my thing is you can also argue that she's not criminally responsible and that is justice for the kids, depending on the argument. So, but I get it. Justice Jane, I get it. And one of the hardest parts for me with, if I'm trying, because I always play devil's advocate, so I always try to see it both ways, but I get it. Like, why, wait until Patrick left type thing. I get that. But mental health, says Barbara, is a real thing, and it is. And I mean, I've suffered with mental illness since I was like little. I mean, I was diagnosed with misdiagnosed. I was mismedicated. I was hospitalized. I did nights with, many nights with, and again, this isn't as the clinician, this is as the patient, which I think you get a whole different understanding of it. But I can't forget times where I did inpatient treatment for eating disorder, but they didn't have a bed ready for me. And because at the time, there were times that I was a danger to myself, I wasn't, I had to stay, but I needed to wait until there was a bed open for me in the eating disorders wing. In the meantime, I stayed in the psychiatric wing until that happened. And I will never forget being 15 years old, and I was separated with children. I was on a different unit, but at some point for 24 hours, and I don't know, because again, you can't really go by me because I lacked insight at this point. I look back now, and I mean, I was catatonic at the moment. When Dr. Leslie was describing a moment she had, I was like, that's what that brought me back to. That's why it's even in my brain. But I'll never forget this woman. At some point, I'm with all adults, and I wind up staying with this woman for 24 hours. And again, we were in a facility. I wasn't at this woman's house or something. But I wind up staying with her person for the next 24 hours. And she thought she was calling me her child. She was rubbing my head, but roughly. She was panicking at certain points. She was having delusions. I'll just never forget it. And I just remember she was protecting me in her head, she said, from other people that were having, going through it. I just remember the experience, and it happened more times than I'd like to admit. And I don't know, that woman, there were times, but this is the thing, this is what I'm thinking right now. Truth would say, but that's a different story because they're different types of mental illness. And Cuff, you would say that not that you guys would say, I'm saying meaning that you guys have had a good effect on me, that I think of these things. But you guys might argue, or not argue, but tell me to think about how there's different types of psychosis, and that postpartum psychosis is, I don't know, you guys. See what I mean? This just goes back in this, I mean, I'm somebody that's been not only trained and educated in the areas, but I've been teaching it, not about postpartum psychosis per se, but in multiple courses, we go through pregnancy and childbirth and postpartum and things like that, in more than one class. So, in developmental psych and child psych and abnormal psych. So the good news is, even in intro to psych, I can touch upon postpartum depression and psychosis. But we need to make sure that we're not only educating people about it, but that we're changing systems to make it easier. One of the big failures, in my opinion, in this whole story was that she got turned down when she tried to get help because she was over-medicated. You could argue that that wasn't her fault. It's not that she was, there wasn't an argument that she was misusing her medicine. If anything, they didn't think she took as much as she was prescribed, it says the prosecution, right? So, and we don't know either way, I don't know that to be true or false. I'm just saying, that's one of the arguments. So, I mean, whose fault is that then? So what, you can just give all these different medications, and then when the person, and the other thing that made me even more furious than that was that she was turned down because they asked her if she had a plan and she didn't. My thing is, if you're thinking about it enough that you've taken yourself to be hospitalized, do you need a plan to take it serious? And this is the thing, I've been like taught that, yeah, you ask if there's a plan, because if there's not a plan, then it's on the person's mind, and it might be like an ideation, but it might not be something that's going to materialize into an action. However, after this case, I mean, I second guess that. I don't know that that's as important as I think it is. I think that if somebody is thinking about it on that level, that they're trying to get help, why would anybody turn them down? You know? So you say, let's see what you guys are saying. Heidi, they said, just because you are in a psychotic state doesn't mean that you can't do things. Oh, that is a big, Casey, I do know that to be true. I know that to be true from what I've experienced, both academically, professionally, and personally. So you can absolutely, and I think that, good call. Cuff You says not taking enough medication is also abusing it. I never thought of that, Cuff You. You're right. You're right. I never thought of it that way. Great insight. Great insight. But yeah, so just because you're psychotic doesn't mean that you can't, go to the doctors, call for dinner, stuff like that. And I would hope that anybody in here that has dealt with mental health or knows anything about this will back that, because I think that that is very true. Let's see. 3 hours sleep per night isn't sleep deprivation, though. It's poor sleep for sure. Okay, Lucy, you're right, because people get very little sleep. I mean, isn't it sleep deprivation or no? What would be then? But again, it doesn't mean that there aren't people. I mean, there's plenty of people. As you get older, you need less sleep too. So there's plenty of people that sleep 4 or 5 hours a night, and that's okay for them. But my thing is it different than what her baseline is? And more importantly, as somebody studying the psychology part of this, I want to know, after 3 hours of sleep, are you tired? Because if she is, whether she's experiencing symptoms due to sleep deprivation, for me, as somebody trying to figure out maybe what she, what's going on to help her, one of the things I would definitely look at is, is she falling asleep? Is she falling asleep during the day? Is she having a hard time nodding out, Or is she reporting not getting enough sleep, but not feeling tired like that? Because that says just as much as if she is tired. So if somebody is getting a few hours of sleep or none at all, I think, wasn't there one period of time where she got 48 hours of no sleep and she was okay or something? So that's important too, because that could be a sign of bipolar or a state of mania. So Birdie says sleep deprivation will make you psychotic and do things you never imagined. Just ask POWs. Great point. Casey says, I already read that, Case, sorry. So don't get it twisted. Oh no, Truth. I'm afraid of what that was about. I tried to go back, but I don't even know where that was about. So we're just going to keep going and hope that it's taken care of. Barbara says, there was a time I was going to take my life and I didn't tell him because I didn't want him to keep me. Barbara, I thank you for sharing that. And oh God, I totally was in that same boat before, and I did the same thing. And you guys, if you look at the research, Patrick said she was having her best day the day that it happened. And for me, I don't know why they haven't put anybody up there yet to explain to the jury that when somebody wants to end their life, a lot of times you'll see before that occurs, their spirit's getting better, and part of it could be knowing that, this is it. So I wonder, was that not a thought? I don't know. I guess not. Legally says, also, if she lied, many do, she would risk losing her kids. I don't think she ever thought she would actually act on it. I bet you too, legally. And I don't know. So Casey says that she agrees and thinks that Patrick thought she would never go through with it either, nor her mother or mother-in-law, I bet, right? Justice says debunked. She was not over-medicated. They proved that in court. Lindsay said she didn't want to go to Rhode Island. She just didn't want to go to Rhode Island. Wait, can you elaborate on that? What do you mean? Birdie says, Lucy, I didn't hear how many hours of sleep she was getting. It was 3. She was also up for 2 days. Yes, that's what I remember too. Alloy says they should ask, how would you do it instead of a plan? 100%. And you guys, that literally is how, not simple, but like how simple it is to just change the thought process. Instead of saying, do you have a plan? Say, how would you do that? Just to see, because my thing is, like you're saying now, like there's a difference between I would take a handful of medication as opposed to I have a handful of medication that I'm going to take, right? And they're two different things. So once the person says, I'm going to take, and I'm making this up just to make the point, but I'm going to take this handful of medication, you can then say, do you have medication that you could do that with? So I totally agree with you, and that could be the difference between being admitted or not in this case. And could that have helped? Who knows? Let's see. Legally says if you've never been in psychosis, it's hard to judge someone because what they would go through is hard to control when in that state. Okay, and this is the thing, I think that's one of the points, is that I feel it is hard to say because I've never been through it. So I wonder if other jurors feel that way as well. True says, at least my brother did, but he was a psychopath and extremely good at manipulation. And so that's another thing, right? I think that plays a role in the situation, because from everything that's been reported, there isn't any evidence that she has, any form of antisocial personality, any cluster B personality disorder, or any personality disorder to begin with. So I think that that's an important part. Cuffy says, my son has self-admitted so many times. Cuffy, have they ever turned him down? Out of curiosity, I couldn't believe that. Like, she was turned down more than once. Like, I was like, what? Barbara says, agree. Are you Sunny? It's only in her mind that she was over medicated. She was paranoid to take the drugs. And are you Sunny now? Isn't that part of it, right? So, at one point, I'm like, oh my gosh, like the Valium's working, or the Ativan rather, I think it was. The Ativan's working for you, or the Valium, whichever one it was. Something was working for her. And the minute she tells them that she had a good night's sleep and it was working, Tufts was like, okay, we're going to do a cutback plan. I was like, what? Like, let the woman use what's working for now. I don't know. But then what I noticed was, as time went on, I started to notice that in that cutback plan, it almost seemed like that was more for, what's the word I'm looking for? For documentation purposes and anything, because they were what was the word? Remediate plan? Oh, what was the word when they cut back? But anyway, my point being is that a few of them at different times, I felt like they were saying, so that way we could stay on the plan longer, almost like it was a way to acknowledge that it could be harmful and abused or addictive, but at the same time saying we could stay on the cutback plan longer because it was effective. I don't know. That whole thing kind of confused me a little bit. Legally says, yes, Casey, I don't think anyone that knew her, including herself, thought that it would ever happen. Sirius says, lots of good questions and comments tonight. We appreciate everyone joining and in having a difficult discussion in a very respectful manner. Amen to that. Lucy says, the case docs, Cuff put in Discord, state she was getting 3 hours on those nights. And she says, we're extreme lack of sleep. Casey says, oh my God, totally off subject. My washer pisses me off. You're funny, Case. Alloy says, crushing up pills is odd too. Was she crushing up pills? Did they say that? And then Casey says, Casey, you're funny. Many have been in psychosis, are later shocked at what they did when in it. So legally, I keep thinking about the woman I played, the one that had the postpartum psychosis that has 4 kids, and like she's on the other side of it now, and she said like she looks back and she just, you know, she clearly was having psychosis. So I think you're absolutely right about that. What's up, Aussie BB Queen? Question, if a person took the lives of your 3 children, would you just walk away and excuse their actions due to the state? No, not at all, Aussie. Absolutely not. But you're also then putting it like, that makes it personal, right? If it's my thing. Absolutely, I'm human. I get what you're saying. What I'm saying is, in this case, her husband, her mother-in-law, I mean, everyone around her is trying to tell. I mean, isn't that what justice is for? The kids, right? But who would want justice? Their loved ones. And I'm just putting this out there. I'm just asking. This is just a discussion. I'm just, you know, having a conversation. But when the whole family that you would be fighting to get justice for is telling you that you know, so this would be me if this were my kids, touch wood. This would be if this were somebody else that did this, that had a psychotic moment. If I knew that person to be something different and they had a psychotic moment and I, you know, came to a realization that they didn't know what they were doing, then I could absolutely, you know, just like Patrick, right? He winds up divorcing her still. He winds up getting remarried, so on and so forth. So, you know, he moves on from her. He doesn't forget what happens there, but he was able to forgive what she did because he knew that it wasn't the person that she was, and that, you know, so, and again, that's easier said than done, right? And hopefully, you know, none of us ever know anybody to go through this. And I'm just having a conversation here. But again, I don't know, you guys. I'm really stuck because I see the whole part about, you know, she needs to be held accountable, but at the same time, again, I feel like Patrick moving on, you know, not having your ability to do what you want when you want. So it's not even like if she gets found not guilty by reason of insanity, she's just walking out of there. She'll never walk again. No pun. Like, I didn't even mean to say it like that. And once I said it, like, the truth is, I mean, she's going to live with this forever. And I couldn't imagine the children not being on her mind all the time. But then again, there goes projection. My children would be on my mind all the time. So am I then assuming that as a mom, her children are on her mind all the time? So I think that that's why these discussions are important, so that we can separate, like, am I feeling this way because I'm putting myself in the situation, or because I'm reacting to something in the situation? I'm always thinking that. And at the same time, you know, can't both things be true? Like, can't, you know, she's never going to have, in my opinion, she coded twice, and she said that she did not want to be resuscitated, but she didn't have that in her medical directive at the time. So, I mean, had she gotten what she wanted when she did it, or the 2 times she coded after that, you might say that for her, she wouldn't then have to live with, you know, the realization of what happened, but she's alive, and she does. So for me, I feel like this woman is going to be tortured in her own head every day for the rest of her life, regardless of whether she does it in the hospital of a jail or in, you know, a hospital, like mental facility. But either way, it's not like she's, you know, leaving and going and meeting somebody new and getting married. Like, I feel like she's living in her own hell regardless. And again, that's just my opinion, and I hope you respect my opinion as much as I respect yours. I've never been in the chat so busy here. That's so funny. Some people require more sleep than others. That is true. True says, I see my brother in full-blown psychopathic homicidal rage, and I've seen him do sadistic, self-serving shit just because he could do it and blame his shitty diagnosis. And that wouldn't be the first person to do that, right? So, but this is the thing though, Truth. I would say this. See how you're his sister and he's no longer here to speak, right? But you are, right? And whether it be because he wasn't, you know, around alive or in jail or whatever the case may be, I feel like there's always people that can say, even if he was here, right? That there's always people that could say, but with my experience, he da-da-da-da-da or she da-da-da-da-da. I don't feel like anybody is, we're not getting that. Like, Lindsay's sister's not saying, like, nobody's coming forward saying, like, oh, growing up, she used to manipulate to get out of trouble. Like, I don't feel like we're hearing any of that unless those things are out there, and I'm just not hearing any of that. I don't know. Let's see. Sirius says, oh no, that's different. YouTube says, oh no, I put the muted faces of Dr. Vona in YouTube. Crushed up pills tell me she was snorting them. I didn't realize there were crushed up pills. So she took too little and went straight to crushing without a drug abuse history. Yeah, I didn't even know about that, so I don't feel like I can, you know, give an opinion. I just didn't know that there was anything like that. My brother totally knew right from wrong though. And that's the thing, she could know right from wrong too, I feel like, and tell me if I'm wrong if you guys are part of the legal realm. But if I'm correct, isn't it like in most states did she know the difference between right and wrong? Not she, I just meant like in this situation, between right and wrong at the time of the crime. I feel like in Massachusetts it's like different. There's like an extra layer of protection for the defendant. Like, I believe what is it, she might know right from wrong, but she doesn't realize the like the legality of it, pretty much, the criminal part of it, of the action in that moment. So let's see. It's not as rare as people think to crush pills. Oh, that's the truth. Let's see. I don't think she was abusing her meds by not taking enough because she was having bad reactions to them. And she was keeping her doctor updated about what she was doing. She wasn't hiding it. And this is the thing. So remember, you guys, I put that one doctor up, Dr. Josephs or whatever his name was. But if you listen to him, and he's a psychiatrist, there's a huge possibility that she could have been one of the less than 2% on the side of the black box label that has, this extensive reaction to it. Do you know what I mean? And I think that because, if you think about it, that's 98% of us that'll never experience that. So chances are 9 out of 10 times you're going to be talking to somebody who can't understand it because they've been on it and never experienced such a thing. So it almost feels like hard to believe. But if we look at the clinical data, they didn't just pull that number out of nowhere. That was, because of clinical research that was done. So at least 2% reported these similar findings. So I think that that's important to think too. Oh, legally says the prosecutor literally implied that Patrick didn't remove the bands. It was gross. I missed that. Was that today? Or I guess when he testified? Oh no, my brother was so damn charming that his therapist dated him. That's so not okay. Justice is glad the prosecution hauled her ass to court. And I don't know, this prosecution is just under my skin. And again, that's just me personally. What's up, AZ? Nice to have another Aussie here. I love that. Let's see. Heidi says, I've been so tired that I would see shadows from the corner of my eye or heard someone call my name and boo one and no one would be there. It's scary. Heidi, that has happened to me on more than one occasion, but it was never until I really was like listening to that woman on the live that night, the other, a week or so ago, that was talking about how she would hear her husband. I just always thought that, like, we'll hear like someone say our name or something and we'll be like, did you hear that? And people are like, no. And you're like, I swear I just heard da 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 da. So it's like, now that I'm thinking about those times, like, what were those things? Like, was I tired? And if so, was I creating a sensory, like, is my brain perceiving a sense that isn't there? I mean, I don't know. Let's see. Legally says, and then the prosecutor asked about the moral sin. So let me tell you legally what I think that was about. And Dr. Leslie and I both thought the same thing, and I thought that was crazy because I thought I was just making it up. And she's like, no, I think that too. Could it be legally that, because do you remember like a week or so ago when the judge, like back in the beginning, the judge was like, and he was saying to the prosecutor something along the lines of, and you guys are trying to say that she faked it or whatever, and they said, oh, we're certainly not trying to say she faked, like, almost, and I was like, I remember watching that live and being like, huh? Like, I thought so too, Judge, like, what are you talking about? Could it be that the prosecution is listening to the feedback online and, wherever, and want a conviction, obviously, but maybe feel like they're losing people. So by saying something so wrong that they know, because from everything I've heard, lawyers know that you're not supposed to do that. Like, it's not even from any pundits and stuff, they've all been like, this is like 101 stuff, like you don't do that. And I guess, right, church and state, you just don't do it. So my thought is, if you know better and you do it anyway, did you do it because you wanted a mistrial? Because if you get a mistrial, you now get to re-prosecute the whole thing over again, and the second time you take into consideration the things that worked and leave out the things that weren't so sympathetic to other people. And could that have been strategy on the prosecution's part? And if so, do we give the defense an even bigger, like, attaboy for not biting? Because he literally, like, I heard, lawyer pundits that have been not downing him, but have been saying, like, with all due respect, I think he was wrong by not asking for a mistrial immediately. But the more I think about it, the more I'm like, because he says, Red says that the judge, I don't know the word he used, but that the judge, like, did whatever he had to like mitigate the the outcome from that. And again, there's a legal term for it that I just can't remember, but again, a lot of like lawyer pundits were like, creators were like, I still would have did it for the records. I think my favorite, right, Peter Tragos was saying that he would have put it on the record just so that for appeal, because if they lose now, they won't be able to use that. And Peter Tragos said that he would have done it because he would have been able to prove that they should have known better. And if that's the case, it would have been with prejudice, and they wouldn't have been able to take the case up again. So I guess it depends on the way you perceive it, your legal strategy. But either way, I just thought that was, I mean, when she said that, I like spit my coffee out. I was like, what? Like, and more so just for the fact that I felt like this is the grandmother of those 3 kids. Like, I already feel like was she really, did they really need to put her on? And like, I did not like how they were like, oh, well, you knew that, Lindsay said that she didn't really get along with you and she didn't let the kid, like, I just felt like, was there really a need to do, I don't know. I don't like to hurt people's feelings. So, I mean, forget the whole crime behind this. I'm just not the person to be like, oh, Lucy, guess what Justice Jane was telling you? Like, I'm just not that person. Like, I feel like that's mean, and I don't like to purposely get people's feelings hurt. So for me, maybe that's what that was about. And I just felt like I was watching in real time somebody saying something on purpose, knowing that it's going to hurt someone else's feelings. So maybe that just made me feel uncomfortable. Not sure. That's probably what it was. Patrick did remove it. Let's see. Oh my gosh, you guys, I have to get a little bit faster. I could listen to true stories all night long too. Let's see. My question is, it says serious, if she's reporting the truth about her meds, then why not report the other stuff? Because I think she was afraid of getting her kids taken away. In my opinion, that's what I would be afraid of. There's also embarrassment too, right? Like, I look at, like, why would Patrick say my wife isn't bipolar? Like, he did not want to even think about accepting a diagnosis of bipolar. Like, what was that about? And to me, that was like, again, throwing my own, projection onto this. Like, was somebody embarrassed about that? Like, did somebody not want him? You know what I mean? And again, this would be me coming from the person that was misdiagnosed with bipolar and feeling like somebody else was embarrassed of that diagnosis. So again, I think I'm projecting, but was that what that was about, do you guys think? Like, do you think that, like, why else would he say that? And then my thing is, why didn't the doctor, nurse practitioner, say, look, like, I know that you don't agree with it, but this is what I've been trained in, and it's my, better judgment to think that I need to keep this as a possibility at this point. Like, I don't know. I feel like the nurse Gelada or whatever, that she was a little, I liked her the most out of all of the, doctors that the prosecution called, but I felt like, like the others, there were just certain things that could have been done. But then again, hindsight. You can't talk openly without repercussions. Seriously. And people know that, right? And I think people are very aware of that, which is why a lot of people keep it to themselves. When Tufts reported that she said she was close to those thoughts, I was like, what? Like, you guys, I feel like everybody, like, I feel like this is like, duh, but like, you guys, if you're almost to those thoughts, aren't you at those thoughts? Because don't you have to think about those thoughts to know that you're almost there? Like, I felt like if somebody would have said that to me in the clinical sense, I mean, the first thing I thought of was, you're clearly thinking about it, right? Does that make sense? You guys know what I mean? Like, you're thinking about it if you're almost there. So, I don't know. I felt like the fact that they kind of just, I don't know if you want to call it ignored it or didn't take it as serious as like maybe they should have. I don't know. Barbara had a friend that took her life and was giving her stuff away and was very happy the day before. So Barbara, I'm so sorry for that loss. My aunt, the same thing. And, there's quite a few people I know, unfortunately, that have taken their life, and same thing. A lot of them gave stuff away. And for some didn't, give. No, I think almost all of them physically gave. Like in retrospect, when people look back, they were like, oh my gosh, like she gave me this, that, or the other. Like I was thinking, da da da. And now they look back and they're like, well, oh, speaking of, someone said about the basement. I don't know where the basement comes in here. Oh. Was it Alloy who said it? Oh my God, you guys, I never thought of that until I just said it out loud. In the basement. So in the comments, Alloy, I think it was, said about, isn't there symbolism behind the basement in the situation? Like, couldn't you say? So I always say that in taking one's own life, even taking the life of something, like there's often symbolism in when someone, takes their own life. My aunt, for example, it is my honest opinion, like she was, she had, I don't want to put too much of stuff out there, but anyway, she had issues from the time she came into this world, and they all started at her childhood home, and she winds up taking her life in the basement of her childhood home. And for me, there was so much symbolism with that, because it was like, that was like the foundation of everything after that, right? Like that's where she was born, and the basement of your home is your foundation. If you have a basement, but you know what I mean, it's your foundation. And yes, there's so much symbolism there, but it didn't occur to me until it was brought up in chat tonight to even think of that. So thank you for, making me be like, oh my God, duh, why didn't I even think of that? Like, why not upstairs, or why not in the living room? Why in the basement, where the kids, did the little ones, were they down there play? Like, well, I don't know. So we'll say basement is dirty. It's somewhere to hide. It's not an intimate space. Unless you have a finished basement, right? And I believe they had a finished basement, because then it's more like a living room or like a playroom, depending on what your goals are. Let's see. I would think that she would want them to be taken out of her care entirely, just to be on the safe side. Oh, serious. This is my only thing. This is my thing with that. One, I would be afraid, and especially, I would be afraid that if my kid gets taken away, will I ever get them back? Like, is somebody taking them away for a week or two while I get better? Or is this going to be like a 4-year thing where I'm going to look back someday and be like, what was I thinking? So I always think of that. I also think of the shame and guilt behind it. The person's already feeling bad about themselves, or there's whatever, biologically, hormonally, whatever. And now dealing with the sense of shame and guilt for allowing someone, and again, I'm saying this in the sense of if I'm putting myself in someone else's shoes. I'm not saying this is how I feel about it, but I'm thinking in that if I were in the situation, like, one, am I ever going to get them back? And two, I mean, there's got to be a thought of what is everybody else going to think about me that I allowed it and I didn't go with a fight type thing. So I don't know. I feel like that, Lisa says, my Lisa's still here. People have to be held accountable for their own actions, whether they are on or off meds. They still know right from wrong. Even for a split second, reality kicks in and says it's wrong. Lisa, I know a lot of you feel that way. I'm still, I don't know. I don't know. I would not want to be a jury member. I have to tell you that much. Justice Jane says, it was proved in court that Lindsay at the time didn't want inpatient facility and that she didn't want to be away from her family in Rhode Island. But didn't she check herself into inpatient treatment more than once? That's what confuses me about that. Let's see. Oh, I can't even think about that. She doesn't have expert testimony by doctor yesterday that confirmed no antisocial personality. And that's the thing. So the MMPI, and that was the prosecution's expert that gave her the MMPI, and that was to see if she had, personality and disorder, and they didn't find anything. Sirius says, Lisa, that's a good question. Lisa, what was your question? I thought it was a comment. I don't know, maybe it was before that. But yeah, you guys, so tomorrow I never got to see did it end today with the chaplain? I watched it mostly, and then, I know what it was. I don't think I ever got a chance to come back from lunch. And Heidi's feeling like I am. And Harlot. And Cuff You saying yes to Justice Jane. Okay, so Legally says, if it had happened with my friend, I would hate to have her held criminally responsible because she's no criminal. So I guess that was my thing. Legally, it's hard then, like, when someone says if it was your 3 kids, like, of course, that you're instantly as the mom, I'd be like, I want to kill someone. But like Patrick, I mean, that was her husband. And if he got to a point of where he genuinely believed that she was not responsible in that moment, like, doesn't he really know her best at that time of her life? Maybe not. I don't know. But let's see. I don't understand the whole doctor shopping thing, why she would be... I don't think she was doctor shopping, because didn't she go to the doctor? The mother-in-law recommends her. She goes to the doctor. That doctor leaves for whatever reason, new practice, whatever it was, but that doctor moves on from that practice. So she's then given to a different doctor within the practice. So now we're already at 2 doctors. And then if you go inpatient and you see a doctor there, you're at 3 doctors. Do you know what I mean? So my thing is it doctor shopping, or was she given different doctors? Leave Patrick moving on out of this. Oh, I don't think so. Wait, where did he get brought up? Did I bring him up? So this is the thing. The reason I think that it could be brought up, Cuff You, not that Patrick did anything, but what if Lindsay felt like he was checked out? And then, so I'm saying, like, if I'm putting on the hat of she does this on purpose, for me it's hard because I'm like, where's the motive? But what if she felt like he was checked out, or that the marriage was in disarray? I don't know. So when I bring up Patrick, it's to, bring awareness that he's a victim and that the poor guy lost his children. But the other one, when I say, if it was me that said it, when I say he's moved on, I'm talking about in Lindsay's life, like, how would that have affected her? So it's like he's moved on, So it's like she doesn't have him anymore. Like, she doesn't have that marriage anymore. She doesn't have her children anymore. She doesn't have... So I don't know if Patrick was brought up in a different way maybe than that. But when I say it, I feel like he's important to bring up, because I feel like that's one of the things that if I were to think, like, for me, that might have played a role in that. That's all. Just for me personally. But I don't see those signs. Let's see. There's already a new case I'm following. The mob stabbed her 3 children. So I wonder, I'll have to look into that. So the number of meds that she has on hand, though, the only thing I'm thinking is, if she starts out with one doctor and that doctor moves to like a different practice and you get another doctor, and then you go inpatient, and inpatient you get a different doctor. They don't call your doctor. It's just how it is. And inpatient, you might have, you might have 2 or 3 different doctors. So my thing is, was she calling, and then I think the only facility she sought out on top of that was the one that specialized for that particular, area. So I'm personally not convinced of doctor shopping. But that's just me personally. And again, we all have respect for each other here. Yes, Casey, good point. Casey says she's heard of people doctor shopping for like pain pills, but I've never, I mean, I guess you could say for benzos, but I feel like all the doctors gave her the benzos, so it wasn't like she was trying to find them and people were saying no. And do you really doctor shop for like Prozac? You know what I mean? Oh, really? There's also a case I saw. The man killed his wife saying she killed herself. Oh, that sounds like Chris Watts. Remember he tried that? Yes, schizophrenia comes in different forms. But that's the thing. You're right? So then, do we really know? Like, do we have enough to really know what someone with postpartum psychosis is going through? Like, we heard that one woman again on the interview, but shouldn't there be more of that? Like, I kind of wish the judge allowed that, but then again, I understand why he didn't, because if for some reason Lindsay was faking, you could then say that that would sway the jury. But my thing is, if she's not faking, having their story can help someone who's never been through it or understand it. I mean, it's not something we talk about enough. So maybe having those other people testify, telling their stories, might have helped. Maybe someone on the fence that, I don't know. And it could go both ways. I just don't know. Yeah, Case. I also took Valiums, not Casey, AZ says, I also took Valium for muscle spasms, and the thoughts came out of nowhere. They were relentless. You stopped taking it and the thoughts went away immediately? You probably had like a neurotoxicity type thing, right? With benzos, they do work right away. And that's that black box warning I'm talking about. So you were part of that 1% to 2% on the warning label, where most of us are part of the 98%, if we've had to take it, that didn't have those experiences. So, I would hate to just put myself in a situation where I've been like, just because I haven't experienced it doesn't necessarily mean that it doesn't exist, right? So, Justice for the victims. Yes, Cora 5, Dawson 3, Helen 8 months old. Rest in peace. 1,000%. Thank you so much for saying that. And Justice Jane wants to say, Justice Jane, are you one of the district attorneys? I'm just kidding. She thanks the district attorneys. I'm just joking. The district attorney doesn't know that I am. My little measly channel. Let's see. Sirius says, if she wanted to kill herself, then why take the kids' lives as well? So Sirius, I think the thought process was, and this is the thing, Sirius, for me, I feel like maybe they should talk about this as far as if for the defense, because I think there's an argument there that she, and again, don't come for me, I'm saying how you might say she thought of this, that she loved her kids and wanted her kids with her so much so that she didn't see a life for them without her, or vice versa. And again, you could also say that's very selfish, right? So, I mean, I think there's so many things here that could be true at the same time, and it's just really hard to know what someone's thinking. But when we read her journals and stuff, and I guess you could say, somebody could just be writing these things and knowing that this might, whatever. But I am, I want to believe that in her journals, that's how she was feeling in those moments. And so when I read the journals, I'm thinking that whether it's true or not, right, it was most likely her perception at that time. And perception's reality, even when it's not real, right? So, there's just so many nuances here, you guys. Let's see. Allie says, how about this? How about an unrelated episode? We review what staging means, what boxes they tick. Wait, what? I'm down. Are You Sunny said, could she have crushed them in order to take them more quickly? Usually when somebody crushes medicine, it's to get into their system more quickly. Because think about it, right? I would think that taking some and then drinking your water, taking another, I don't know that I'd have to crush, it would take more time to crush them up, in my opinion. So for me, it probably makes more sense, if I was trying to put myself in the shoes of somebody that would do that, would be to have it ingested. Now, is that what she did before all this stuff? Because if so, you could say that she crushed them up to get them into her system quicker. And I don't know I don't know this, but does anybody know if there was a time release coating on any of the pills? Because if so, once you crush a pill, you break any time release coating that might have been there. And there might not be a time release coating. Let's say you're taking a medication, and most of you know this, but there might be someone where this is information for them and this might be helpful. But let's say you're taking 1 milligram of Xanax, and I'm making this up, right? But let's just say that's what you're prescribed. You'll get your pill, I don't think I'm making this up, I think this is real, and it's scored, right? So meaning that there's like a line that you could break it. Just so you know, if you're taking half, like let's say you're like, oh, I only, I'm having a little bit of anxiety, I want to take half of my medicine, make sure that you break it when that preparation. Sometimes I'll see people not realizing it, they're not doing it on purpose, but they'll break it not looking, and picture like the cut goes this way, they break it this way. So it's like, no, don't do that, because then what happens is you pretty much, the same amount, let's say it's 1 milligram, there's 0.5 milligrams on the one half and then 0.5 milligrams on the other half of the preparation. So if you cut it the other way, you can't be sure of how much medication you're taking, right? So always make sure that if there's a preparation and you're trying to take less, that you cut it on the preparation so that you get that dosage that, you're aiming for. Also, when it comes to time release coatings, once they're broken, for example, if somebody takes a 60 milligram Oxycontin that has that time release coating on it, if a lot of times people that are abusing that drug will suck the coating off, so there's like a filmish coating. Like I think of what is it, Advil? Is it Advil or Aleve? Aleve. Is Aleve the one where like you take it, if you take it and spit it out right away, like it would leave marks? Do you know what I mean? It's got like a coating. Anyway, if you are taking like an Oxycontin that has a time release coating and you suck that coating off, or you break it in some way, but especially if you suck the coating off, you wind up releasing the entire 60 milligrams, for example, just in that example, all at once, as opposed to in little doses over so many hours. So, and that then makes it very dangerous. Anyway, let's see. I don't think that was about removing the bands. Which one do you give CPR to? Oh shit, let me see what you're saying. He did not remove the bands because he was crazy out of his mind with horror. He literally testified that he was looking at his 3 children and said, how do you choose? No, Cuff, he said that he removed the bands. If you go back and watch it, the prosecutor says, and then what did you do next? And he said, I removed it. She asked him specifically, did you remove the bands? And he said, yes. I think, right? I don't know. But at the same time, come on, that poor man, I couldn't imagine people that lose one child, right? Like this poor man, and then he says that he sees his daughter and then the other son, but then he doesn't see. Like, I just couldn't imagine for those few seconds that he said he runs around and he looked behind the couch or whatever, and then, my heart, I can't. Altruistic filicide. Yes, Lucy Day. So let me tell you what that is. So this is the thing, you guys. I compared her case with Andrea Yates, and although I see many similarities, there are clear differences. Andrea Yates had paranoid schizophrenia, and postpartum psychosis, right? But she presented differently. So from what I remember, Andrea Yates reported hallucinations and delusions all the time. Like, it was a lot more not documented in the sense of like going to the doctors, but well known, I guess you would say. Like, I believe she talked to her pastor about it, her husband, so on and so forth. With that being said, what the hell is my point? Wait, there was a reason I said that. Oh, with altruistic filicide. It is my opinion that Andrea Yates really thought that she was saving her kids from the devil taking their souls type thing when she did this. Whether she, realizes later, different story. I'm sure she, that all happens. But in that moment, she calls Rusty afterwards and tells him that she needed to do it, and she did it. And I believe she also calls the police or Rusty, but whatever. She didn't try to like hide it or anything like that. In that case, she felt like if she didn't do that, the kids' souls would be taken. Now, this is something interesting, Lucy. Take notice, and I would like to find a case that doesn't have this, just to see if my hypothesis, like, I'm thinking about it, and I'm trying to think of a case where there isn't a religious, like religiosity in some instance when it comes to the altruistic filicide. So, like, a lot of times you'll hear things like the devil or God or I needed to save their souls or go with God or does anybody else notice that? And again, could you just say that that's obvious because once your life is gone, that's where, if you believe in God, that's where you go. I don't know, but I want to look into that. I feel like there's got to be something. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Like, why do we see, like, maybe it's just that there's, I don't know. I'm going to have to look into it. I don't even want to say something stupid, like, but I'm just assuming right now my assumption would be that there's more people that believe in a God than doesn't. So therefore, your population of people are going to come more likely from. So if you believe in God, then that then becomes one of the things that your perceptions that could go wrong. So I'm over here, and this is what's happening right now when you see me like thinking real quick, or it's not hesitation. It's literally my thought process bounces back and forth between one view and the opposing view, like, and I just go through, and that's why I was like, oh, wait a minute. I almost redacted that on my own. All right, so let's see. Lucy Day says, sending them to heaven where they will be safe with God. Exactly, that's what she said, right? Wait, and then Allie says, sending them to heaven in white dresses or posed or fairy tales, not like that in a basement. It's weird. I think I missed the first part. I wonder what she wrote to Reddington yesterday that with a pissed off look on her face. Oh, I don't know. So legally thinks that the bow thing might could possibly like sway the jury, which is, I actually couldn't believe that you were allowed to do that while the trial was going on, but I don't know. All right, let's see. I would have sworn, says Casey, when she was off on the stand, he said he untied them. I heard the same thing. Case, he definitely said he untied them. Case, it's very possible someone did say it, but it's not factual. How do we know where the, like, wouldn't that mean that like the first responders would report taking them off? Like, how would we know that he didn't? Because he definitely on the stand said that that's the first thing he did was untie them, and his DNA was on them too, which is the theory is because he untied them. I definitely swear I heard that though. I don't know if I'm wrong. Oh, Birdie, about them going to Aruba for a week. I heard that too. I was like, oh my God. Even I noticed even the defense kind of threw a few, like even with, was it with Patrick even, that the defense at one point was like, wasn't that the time you dropped her off? Like, let me be honest, you guys, this might make me a bad wife right now. I don't know. So maybe I should just shut my mouth. But my husband, he has this thing with his stomach. He has these episodes where he'll like start throwing up, and he winds up needing like fluid, antibiotic, like all this stuff. Like not antibiotic, I made that part up. Fluid, I meant to say fluid, not medication, like through his fluids. I don't fucking know. You guys know what I'm trying to say. My point is that it's happened so many times, and our hospital is so close. You guys, are you going to come for me? Should I hide, or are you going to throw tomatoes? He drives himself to the hospital all the time. A lot of the times, nobody's there to drive him, so he just has to go and goes. But there's some times where we're here and I'll be like, all right, I'm getting this stuff. And I'll be like, no, I got it. Because if he gets released in the middle of the night, it's just a whole thing. Am I a bad person? Am I going to hell? I always will I'll go up after and like bring a lot of stuff, especially if he's getting admitted. But sometimes it's like just a few hour thing, like, and they knock him out and then he comes back to life and they discharge him and he comes home all better. Like, I don't know. Hopefully I don't really give a shit. Whatever. It works for us, you guys. He doesn't hate me for it. He gets miserable during these moments, and he would tell you that he'd rather be by himself. Hey, Avery. Let's see, who else? Yes, the DNA was on the exercise bands, is how I remembered it. Allie says, to me, it's masculine. This is the thing. I don't know if we're talking about him having anything to do with it, but if you just look at, like, I feel like we could shut that down. If anybody's watching the trial, they showed us the surveillance cameras of, like, she's the one that calls and orders the food. So, I mean, we did that tonight, and my husband called and ordered it, and we told Ava it'll be ready in 20 minutes, and then she went and picked it up. So like she calls in the food and he goes and picks it up. So if you look at like the time stamps, it just isn't possible. Like he goes to the two different stores, and when he comes back, she's outside. Like it isn't physically possible, and I feel like it just winds up making it. But I don't know, why did she choose that method? I don't know. You would think that in the situation, I mean, I don't know. I'd have to look it up more, but I would assume something like a poison or, drowning. That's what Andrea Yates did. I'm not sure where that came from. Let's see. Case. One of us will find it. I feel like I know exactly where he says it. Well, he's only on the stand once, so I feel like it wouldn't be hard for us to find it. Cuff, I'm going to send you a link because I feel like I've watched his testimony like twice, and I'm like 99, and again, I could be dead ass wrong, but right now I feel like I know where I could find it at. So after this is over, before I pass out, because that's when, I don't know, I'm tired, but before I pass out, I'm going to find that, just so that, because you're right, you do have everything, so I would want you to have it all. Let's see. Casey, good point. I could see sending my kid to my family members for like 2 weeks, but not giving them off to DYFS. No way. Casey, I have to agree with you, and part of that's just from experience, right? From watching other people lose their kids for less. I mean, I don't know if Lisa's still on here, but Lisa, knock knock. Hey Lisa, you taking in anymore? Lisa is the family member that you could drop your kid off to. Lisa, you're raising, I guess you would say like a loved one's child, right? Isn't there? Yeah, I think so. A lot of you do. A lot of you have such a big heart. I would do it. If somebody needed me, like if my sister or somebody or a friend, even a neighbor was like, could you help me or whatever for a few days, and I could, like, let's just say I physically was able to do so and whatever, I absolutely would. I better watch. I'm going to get a couple knocks on the door tomorrow. People are going to be like, were you like taking orders? I'm just going to drop these kids. No, I'm just kidding. But I really would, and I would hope that you guys would too. Yes, legally says that in psychosis, people often think that what they're doing is right. And that's what goes back to altruistic filicide, is when you think, like, if she, let's give like the benefit of the doubt, just like I did the other way, if she really did hear that you and believe that you have to take, that you have to do this now and take your life, or it's going to be too late, or you know what I mean, you can argue that that's what she was thinking, but you could also argue that she didn't say that if I didn't do it now, my kids would get, possessed by the devil or taken by Satan or something like that. She just said that she wouldn't have another opportunity, which almost made me feel like I'm taking the kids out before I take myself out, and if I didn't do it now, I wouldn't have the opportunity to do it again. But that almost felt like more for her than the kids, that part, but I could have heard it wrong. What happened to the poll, says Harlot? I don't know how to do it live. I really don't. I'm going to have to do it on a post. But tell me what the poll should be about. Is it about just like how we all feel as far as guilty, not guilty? Wait, Travis. Oh, I remember that whole thing. Travis Decker. What are you giving up for, Case? What's the problem? I'm reading everybody's from an hour ago. I'm an hour behind pretty much, you guys. Not you guys. You guys are all in the conversation up here, but I'm reading them in order. So if like I read Alloy's from an hour ago and then Cuff U's, it's like all from that same time. So you guys know I'm just really behind. Cuff U says, oh, Casey said, what I'm trying to say is if they had clear plastic bags over their heads, they were not concealed. Oh, so wasn't there the one testifying about like and about how there was, oh, I know what you mean, Case. Cuff U says the recent case you're referring to is Kelly Renee. Oh, she's got 3 names. Don't you guys love that when somebody has like the 3 names? She's a 22-year-old North Dakota mother. One isn't, oh my God. How long ago was it, you guys? Could you imagine being the kid that makes it? Right? Oh, Ruth Miller threw her kids in the river. Then you have somebody like Susan Smith that I just think wanted to eliminate her kids, right? So I think there are situations where moms get rid of their kids for selfish reasons. Some might say Casey Anthony, allegedly. I know she was found not guilty. Let's see. Yes, people doctor shop for the prescriptions they want. However, and I don't know if this is in every state, but where I live, it's so hard to doctor shop now because, and I don't know if it's like I said, a state thing or like if this is what all doctors do, but when you go to get a prescription now, they go through and I'm always like, why do they ask you what medications do you take when they're just going to look it up anyway before they prescribe something? I'm like, is that like a trick question? Are they trying to see if I tell them the truth? I always feel like it's a trick question. But I feel like nowadays, before you prescribe something, you just look up what the person's taking, right? So I don't know if that's everywhere, but I would hope that it's harder to doctor shop. However, is there any doctors that still have like prescription pads. All right, let's see. Sirius says, thank you for answering all my questions. I'm glad to be a safe space to be able to talk about this stuff and try to understand it better. I'm definitely not judging, just curious. I think that was so beautifully said, because that's exactly how I feel. Let's see. Barbara thinks she needs to be put in a mental hospital. I agree too. And I guess my other thing is this, like, isn't she going to a facility either way? It's going to, and my thing is, I don't know about jails, but do they have I know there's like a separate, I even know just from listening to Mackenzie Shirilla and how they have a separate unit for mental health and stuff. But would she be with mental health? Does anybody know? Or would she be with people with disability? Like, where would they place her? Does anybody know? Like, if she was found guilty, because she's going to need assistance, but I'm not sure. And, you know, do they put you, how does that work? Does anybody know? Huh. Let's see. There's more of these cases than we think. That's so horrible to think, right? Oh. So legally, as a friend who's in jail for stealing during psychosis, and after coming out of psychosis has zero memory of it. So I mean, so I think that's like one of the big takeaways. Did you just hear what I said? Takeaway? I clearly need to go to bed. But that's one of the big takeaways from this for me, is that I might not be that less than 1% that it happened to, but there's clearly evidence that it happens. I guess the thing here is that what happened with her. My only thing is, like, I just don't know what the motive would have been. I don't know. That's what I keep going back on. Like, what's the motive? I don't know. There isn't one. For me, there might be one, which is why I said the whole Patrick thing before. Like, that's, you know, when I'm trying to, like, force myself to think of a motive, and I know that you don't have to have motive to prove it, but for me, I want motive. I'm thinking, like, you know, could she have felt like he was going to move on from her? I don't know, but I'm still leaning towards mental, you know, legally insane. Let's see. I have to skip a little bit further, you guys, or we're going to be here tomorrow. So why don't I do this, you guys? I'm going forward. If anybody has, like, a specific question or comment that you really want me to see, tag my name in it real quick or something so that I see it. But I don't see anything here that's specifically with my name. I appreciate the fact that you went and looked it up. Patrick's full testimony. Oh, so did he say it? Were we able to look it up? Thank you for finding it, and I'll have to watch it afterwards, because I don't know why I felt like he said I took them off. I could be wrong though, right? What was motive? That's what I've been wondering the whole time. And that's my thing, like, where, like, with, if you look at the Watts case, stuff like that, like, you see the motive there, in my opinion. I don't know. In so many of these cases, you see the motive. Even with Travis Decker, and again, when I say motive here, I'm not saying, like, you know, but we do see cases where, you know, and remember, do you guys remember, we think he was dealing, or he was diagnosed with, like, post-traumatic stress disorder, borderline personality disorder. There was a few things. But there was also evidence, in my opinion, in that case of him wanting to get back at Whitney, his ex. And there are, unfortunately, cases where somebody will take out the children to hurt this other person. And again, I don't know that it's something he maybe thought out type thing. I don't know that it was premeditated in that sense. It could have been something, you know, that he just flips in that moment, or has it, whatever. But I think there's different reasons why people do these things. He could have ended her too and didn't. Which, oh my gosh, I'm glad you just brought that up, Ellie, because I think that's why I also came to that conclusion, was because he didn't take her out too. It made it feel like me to that it was more against her type thing. And that's just my opinion. All right, you guys, I'm going to end this live. We've been on for how long? Like over 3 hours. So I feel like that's a lot. I found it. He removed them. The confusion comes in when the cop said he was removing the band, and then EMS came in and removed the bands. Patrick's full testimony. Well, thank you, Cuff You. I'm glad that we were able to figure that out before we went live. Cuff You, we're hanging up right now anyway, but don't go before I can say thank you to my mods and to all of my you guys. Didn't I say we would give away 5 memberships? Let's do it. Look at the GIF I made you in Discord. I'm going to do that. But first, let me give away 5 Mind Body True Crime memberships because I said I was going to, and I'm not a liar. So let me go to my channel. Let's go to this. Let's go. Alright, here we go, you guys. Let's gift. Let's see who's going to be our newest people. Alright, let me share this so you guys can see, and then we'll hang up and we'll all go to bed. Let's see who's going to get them. Alright. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, wrong one. Oh, wait, hold on. Is this the one? Share this tab. This is the one. Here we go, you guys. Let's see who gets it. Alright, I have 5 memberships left. Ready? Let's see. Here we go. Who got them? Ash got it. AZ, you got a membership. Alloy got a membership. Oh my god, you guys. Just Me, Joe got one.
Thank you.
Honey Bun got one. Yes. Welcome, you guys. I'm so excited. You guys, I want to make sure that I say thank you so very much today for also gifting memberships, because tonight we got 15 new members tonight, you guys. That is amazing.
Thank you.
So, I appreciate you, and I thank you all. And I'm going to bed. I love you guys. Have a great night. Thank you so much for joining me here, and welcome to
Thank you.
where, let's all say it, we put the
Thank you.
where we put the fun in dysfunctional. You're gonna hear thank you like 3 more times.
Thank you.
2 more times.
Thank you.
Let's see. It's coming. Here it comes. Ready? Anyway, congratulations to the new members. I love you guys. Honey Bun.
Thank you.
Honey Bun. Wait, Honey Bun, I had to hit keep streaming. Honey Bun's a new member. Welcome to the Minds Behind True Crime with Dr. Vona, where we put the fun in dysfunctional. And
Thank you.
Casey has gifted a membership. Case, thank God I didn't hang up, Case. What the frig? I would have friggin'...
Thank you.
Thank you. Wow.
Thank you.
Guys. Let's see what just happened over here. I love you guys. Truth has been a member for 14 months. Wow. Casey's been a member for 8 months. Wow, you guys. Thank all of you. Thank you, Casey, for sending that membership. I don't know who got it, though. Let's see. Who got that? I want to know before I hang up, because I'm just like that. Let's see. It was True Crime Rob. True Crime Rob. Hopefully all of you said thank you to everybody who Got a membership. Love you guys. Have a great night. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And look out for the video. I'm going to put it out all by itself for people that don't want the rest of the live stream. So look out for that. If you see it and you've already seen it, please just click on it and hit like and like skip through it a little bit so it counts as a view so that more people could see it. That would help me more than you could possibly imagine. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Love you guys.